Chapter 61, Violent Storm, 1. Translating Novice. Demon Core? Could he be talking about the inner core? The only relevant core Xiao Huiol could be referring to was the inner core, as far as I know. Why do you call this a demon core? As I tried to explain the inner core, I found myself at a loss for words. The inner core was something only high-level martial artists like Kim Young-hoon and I, who had reached the ultimate pinnacle, possessed. In a world where even those at the stage of 5 energies converging to the origin are considered geniuses appearing only once every few hundred years, there were probably only 2 martial artists in the history of martial arts who had reached the ultimate pinnacle, Kim Young-hoon and me. But how should I explain this inner core, which only a martial artist of ultimate pinnacle could create? On reflection, I realize I am not well-versed enough to understand. I would be grateful if the Sea Dragon King could enlighten me on what a demon core is. The demon core is a spiritual essence formed by beings like me, an enlightened demon beast. At the same time, it's the catalyst for regular demons and mystical beasts to start cultivating upon gaining intellect. While humans are born with intellect, most beasts just instinctively absorb the heaven and earth spiritual energy until one day this energy forms a core in their body, which becomes a demon core, gradually granting them intellect and the ability to cultivate. My dragon race, among a few others, can pass down the demon core, so we possess intellect from a very young age. It seems that what is typically known as a demon core is formed by demons and mystical beasts. I now understood why Xiao Huiol was referring to my inner core as a demon core. If the aggregation of heaven and earth spiritual energy grants intellect to demons, then their demon cores are essentially concentrations of their own intellect and energy. My inner core was formed by the mingling of Gang Qi with the nature of the Dantian. The Gang Qi was, in turn, another concentration of my own being, a kind of concentration of intellect, so to speak. In other words, it was convergent evolution. Though evolved under entirely different conditions and in different ways, the end results appeared similar. This seemed to be the case with my inner core and the demon cores of demon beasts. Humans, typically born with intellect, can't form a separate core of intellect, like a demon core. You don't see humans stuffing their brains into their dantian to converge it. Normally, only enlightened demons form demon cores. Occasionally, hybrids of humans and demons can form them. But you formed a demon core and yet didn't know you were a hybrid? The Sea Dragon King, apparently misunderstanding my identity, kept asking me, thinking I was some sort of human-demon hybrid. I wonder what kind of hybrid you are, but it's about time for me to go. I must be on my way to the Ascension Gate. After asking me a few things, the Sea Dragon King clicked his tongue as if in regret. He pushed Kim Young-hoon's body into a spatial rift and, persuaded by me, decided to take manager Kim Yun as well. He then looked at me. But a human-demon hybrid, that's almost the first in 1,000 years. This is also fate. Here is a demon beast cultivation manual, one of the decent cultivation methods passed down in my Sea Dragon clan. How can I express my gratitude? Shaking, I took the book he handed me. The book was bound in some beast's hide and emanated a cool aura. And then, I apologize, but could you tell me what these characters are? Ah, that's the demon script. I suppose you, not knowing that you had a demon core or what kind of hybrid you are, wouldn't know the demon script either. Then what are you telling me to do? Maybe he could transmit the knowledge of the demon script using a spell. I looked at him hopefully, but Xiao Huiol shook his head, noticing my gaze. The consciousness of humans and demons are quite different in frequency. Forcibly transmitting knowledge usually results in the weaker mind going insane. Unfortunately, it looks like you'll have to learn the demon script separately. Let's see. If you go to the Black Wind Sea's utmost Chaos Island, there's a descendant of mine, Xiao Ran, who's of late-stage Qi building. That child is proficient in both human and demon script. If you offer him something in exchange, he might teach you. As my knowledge is not broad enough, what if I turn out not to be a demi-human and get attacked? What are you even talking about? I'm telling you that you're a demon-human hybrid. You've even condensed a demon core, so any sentient demon wouldn't dare treat you lightly. Well, I must be going. That cultivation manual is quite a decent demon beast method and should be helpful to a demi-human hybrid like you. After saying this, Xiao Huiol picked up Kim Yun and Oh Hi Seo and left the cave. A while later, I saw Xiao Huiol cutting through the dark clouds and flying away. I bowed my head towards the departing Sea Dragon King. Demon beast methods, you say? Suddenly, I pondered the origin of martial arts. Most trace the origin of martial arts to cultivators' cultivation methods. The internal energy methods were said to have been born from the cultivator's spiritual energy cultivation. However, martial arts are not composed solely of internal methods and energy cultivation. Techniques. Where did the techniques that martial artists use to move their bodies come from? The movements of beasts are the origin of countless martial arts techniques. From the pouncing of tigers, the galloping of horses, the fluttering of bees, the solidity of turtles. Humans imitated those stronger than themselves to perfect their martial arts. They created internal methods by imitating cultivators and techniques by imitating beasts. These techniques and internal methods merged over thousands of years to become fully integrated and become martial arts of today. Thus, martial artists firmly established their existence in this world. Is the Gang Sphere I created an energy method or technique? It could be seen as a clump of energy, or a collection of techniques, similar to that of cultivators, but also born from the movements of beasts. Therefore, my inner core shared similar traits with the demon cores of demon beasts. That meant, perhaps, by studying demon beast methods, I could discover the next stage of martial arts. Cultivators' methods have evolved over thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Demon beast methods likely have a similar history, though not much is known. But martial arts, compared to them, have a much shorter history, even at their best. That's why martial arts are weaker, and their realms are limited. Kim Young-hoon's continuous effort to pioneer new realms wasn't in vain. Without it, martial arts could never reach new realms. If I learn demon script, interpret demon beast methods, and inform Kim Young-hoon, perhaps he could see beyond much faster? I made up my mind. Yes, first I will recover my past life's cultivation as quickly as possible in Ascension Path. Afterwards, I will set out to find the sea dragon named Co Ran living in the place called the Black Wind Sea's utmost chaos island to learn demon script. This was my goal for this life. The time it took to recover up to the 7th star of Chi refining was much faster than in my past life. Just about 7 years. It was almost gaining 1 star per year. Repeating the process of understanding before breakthrough from the beginning, my understanding of the stages deepened, accelerating my recovery. Then, I performed the 7 stars ritual again. A ceremony to receive celestial energy from the heavens. This time, too, I witnessed something familiar. The inevitable heavenly rejection. Dark clouds blocked my path, but I just smiled and raised my hand. Boom. A burst of light and a hole in the sky. Starlight poured down, bestowing celestial energy upon me. I smoothly reached the 8th star of Chi refining. It took about 3 years to reach the 11th star, 3 talents, from the 8th star of Chi refining. Recently, as I reached the stage of 3 talents, I noticed changes in the Gang Sphere again. Heaven, earth, man. The Gang Sphere underwent changes in the 3 talent stage in my past life as well. Back then, the feeling wasn't clear. Now, I somewhat understand it. Of course, it was still hard to explain verbally. Worrying. It seemed possible to induce changes in the Gang Sphere. Bang. The Gang Sphere split into 2. The left sphere became earth, the right sphere heaven, and myself, between the 2 spheres, became man. Thus, making heaven and earth revolve around me. The 2 Gang Spheres stabilized as they rotated around me. I lifted the 2 spheres in my hands. The principle of 3 talents applied, and the Gang Sphere split. Why was that? Why did the principle of 3 talents apply so perfectly to the Gang Sphere? Whoosh whoosh. I lifted the 2 Gang Spheres in one hand. The 2 spheres, representing heaven and earth, revolved around each other and eventually merged into one. The principle of 3 talents. I pondered over the principle of 3 talents and tried splitting the Gang Sphere again. For now, I could only split the Gang Sphere into 2. Without proper enlightenment, the 2 spheres would merge back into one if the force was released. I observed the Gang Sphere for a moment, and then continued my practice of the record of surpassing path and martial arts. About a year later, I successfully completed the 12th and 13th stars of Chi refining. Yin-Yang unity and the unified origin. Bam! All spiritual meridians merged into one, and a single point of spiritual power gathered in the Dantian. Completing the 14th star of Chi refining, infinite spiritual cloud, grants eligibility to attempt Chi building. The stage of infinite spiritual cloud was more like a bridge between Chi refining and Chi building. Therefore, having completed the unified origin and able to enter 14th stage, I had essentially reached the limit of Chi refining. Finally, after about 11 years, I have fully recovered to the 13th star of Chi refining. Crack. Clasping my hands, I formed a formation on the ground without even gestures or chants. I could now instantly create simple formations. What remained was to complete the 14th star and enter Chi building. Entering Chi building requires more thought. With my current talent, it might not be achievable even with a lifetime of hard work. Therefore, as I had originally planned, I should meet Co Ran in the Black Wind Sea to learn demon script, and learn the demon beast methods given by Co Huiol. 11th year of return. Having reached Chi refining 13th star, I jumped off Ascension Path. It was now time to explore the demon beast methods. Translator notes. By a bit, I mean very soon lol. Extra donated chapter. Everyone thank a sexy cow, Lil Bruh, Fatty Daoist, and Tustone. Thanks for the support. Chapter 62, Violent Storm, 2. Translating Novice. Having jumped from Ascension Path, it took several days to reach Biokra. Having reached the 14th star of Qi refining and possessing sufficient spiritual power, I could quickly cast spells. Perhaps due to this. Or maybe it was because I brought a lot more food from Ascension Path than before. Or perhaps because I didn't waste time searching for traces of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect like last time. Anyway, I managed to avoid the dreadful predicament of running out of water. Of course, it would have been better if I had a little more water. Licking my dry lips, I entered the Cheon-Seek city in Biokra. Next time, after the Earth Surpassing Path, I should practice the Water Surpassing Path to the level of 3rd or 4th star of Qi refining. Since I possess the 5 elements spiritual roots, I should be able to master other elements as well. Learning at least the initial part of the Water Surpassing Path will be helpful for crossing deserts. While purchasing basic necessities and clothing in Cheon-Seek city and about to enter Biokra, I was stopped. Halt for a moment. Which clan's young master are you? A subtle pressure of spiritual power could be felt. Simultaneously, a presence with a slightly larger consciousness than mine enveloped my consciousness. Swoosh. The air shimmered, and a middle-aged man adorned with numerous glass bracelets emerged. The man in white was adorned with glass ornaments all over his body, emitting faint spiritual energy from each. Each one is a magic artifact. He must be wealthy to be covered in them. I observed him cautiously, a little tense. Wearing magic artifacts all over meant not only wealth, but also possessing enough spiritual power to activate them all. A cultivator in the Qi building stage. Maintaining my guard, I replied politely to his question. I am a loose cultivator named Seo Eunhyun. May I know the purpose of your inquiry, senior? A loose cultivator? Not affiliated with any clan. Yes, not affiliated. The ring-shaped glass artifact around the man's neck turned a clear blue. The fact that the listening ring turns blue means you are telling the truth. You're not a spy sent by another clan to scout the Gongmyo clan's territory then. An artifact that can discern truth and lies. The whirlwind of spiritual energy within the ring was dizzying just to look at. Quite young, aren't you? How old? My physical age was about 40, considering I fell into this world at 29 and about 10 years have passed. I have reached my 40s. You look remarkably young. My aging was slow due to rejuvenation and the inner core, so I still maintained the appearance of my early 20s. Anyway, reaching the 14th star of Qi refining in your 40s implies you have remarkable talent. What is your spiritual root? I possess the 5 elements spiritual roots. 5 elements. At that age, with all 5 elements, you reach the 14th star of Qi refining? The Qi building cultivator in white looked at me with amazement and then spoke. More talented than expected. Tempting. I am Buk Jung-ho, an external elder of the Gongmyo clan. I was once a loose cultivator too, but a former elder of the Gongmyo clan recognized my talent and recommended me as an external member of the clan. The Gongmyo clan welcomes talented individuals regardless of background. Why not join the Gongmyo clan? It seems he approached me not only to determine if I was a spy, but also to recruit talent. I relaxed my excessive tension while maintaining basic caution. I am deeply honored by your offer, but unfortunately, I must decline as there are certain things I cannot do if I belong to a clan. That's regrettable. Think about it carefully. It seems you're at the peak of Qi refining. If you join our clan, you'll receive support for Qi building. And if you reach Qi building, you could become an external elder like me. If you choose to become a son-in-law of the main family, becoming an internal elder is also possible. You know the Gongmyo clan is renowned for refining magic artifacts, correct? Join us and you'll receive high-quality artifacts for free. I am truly sorry, but I really have things to do that prevent me from joining a clan. Well, if that's the case. Buk Jung-ho clicked his tongue, disappointed. If you ever change your mind and want to join a clan, make sure to visit the Gongmyo clan. As an external elder, my sincere dedication to Gongmyo clan speaks volumes of its remarkable life, does it not? The Chongmun clan is nothing but a battleground where one must constantly fight to prove themselves if their strength is unverified. And the Biok clan, they are just wallflowers, dull and foolish. Be sure to seek out Gongmyo clan if ever you grow weary of your loose cultivator lifestyle. Yes, I suppose I will. Why is he so keen on recruiting me? His promotion of the Gongmyo clan was suspiciously earnest. After exchanging pleasantries with Buk Jung-ho, I left Cheon-Seek City and headed towards the territory of the Chongmun clan. I planned to participate in the training conference as before and meet Chongmun Ryan. After all, shouldn't I see how his life is doing at least once? It was when I entered the registration office for the training conference of the Chongmun clan. Wow, what do we have here? A fresh talent. Suddenly, a muscular giant burst out from a corner of the office. A Qi building cultivator. And I knew him. He was Chongmun Ryakshin, a Qi building elder. I occasionally greeted him during my previous life when I studied under my master. a man who was right behind my master in the rankings of the Immortal Combat meeting. As I was flustered, Chongmon Ryokshin approached me, grabbed my shoulder, and exclaimed, "A chi refining cultivator at the extreme level, and your consciousness is almost comparable to chi building. What a tremendous talent. You, join the Chongmon clan. I'll support any aspirant who challenges chi building." "Ah no, Silence. I won't allow any defiance. Do you think talents like you are common? Damn it. Apparently, being a chi refining cultivator at 14th star, just before chi building, was more valuable than I thought. Indeed, in their eyes, I was a potential elder-level talent just rolling around, awaiting a bit of support. No thank you, I don't need it. I hurriedly fled the registration office. I knew they were all aggressive except for my master and a few others, but I hadn't expected this level of stubbornness. Boom. The entrance of the registration office exploded, and Chongmon Ryokshin charged at me like a madman. "You? Why don't you obediently become a part of the Chongmon clan? I will make you my family's son-in-law." Wait. I only came to meet Chongmon Ryong." "What? You came to see my brother?" He paused. Chongmon Ryokshin stopped midair, then stroked his chin and laughed heartily. "Well, it's true my brother has much to teach." "All right, so you want to be his disciple?" "No, that's not what Fine. Then you're either going to be his disciple or my family's son-in-law." My head started to hurt. I knew he was stubborn, but when I was Chongmon Ryong's disciple, I hadn't seen such greed. But meeting me now, a 14-star chi refining cultivator, seemed to bring it out in him. "Fine, I'll arrange for you to meet him, but you can't go to any other clan. You'll either be my family's son-in-law or his disciple." I felt I had somehow gotten myself into trouble. Meeting Chongmon Ryokshin was unexpected, but Chongmon Ryong was the same as before. In the territory near the main house of the Chongmon clan, my meeting with Chongmon Ryong happened again. "TCH, at such a young age you've reached the extreme of chi refining. With such talent, why seek me? I agreed to meet you because Ryoksin was being a nuisance, but if you have questions, ask them quickly and leave." He hadn't changed. Even if I live several lives, people don't change. I possess the 5 elements spiritual roots. I cautiously revealed my spiritual roots and saw a flicker of surprise in Chongmon Ryong's eyes. 5 elements spiritual roots. Someone with 5 spiritual roots reaching extreme chi refining at this age? No, don't talk nonsense. Instead of explaining, I recited my understanding of the 72 earthly Sha true words. This time, it wasn't through the victor's privilege of the training conference that I met my master. It was because Chongmon Ryokshin, a chi-building elder, had set the stage for me, a peak chi-refining cultivator with potential. Thus, it seemed appropriate to spend a night discussing with Chongmon Ryong. As I spoke of my understanding and experience of the 72 earthly Sha true words, a glint of interest appeared in Chongmon Ryong's eyes. "So it is. With that level of understanding, you've carved your path following the method of understanding before breakthrough. I never thought there would be another like me." We spent the entire day immersed in conversation. Chongmon Ryong, too, seemed delighted to meet someone who understood the method of understanding before breakthrough as well as I did, and he didn't cease our discussion. The next day dawned. "Your understanding and realization up to the 7th and 8th stars of chi refining aren't behind me at all. Impressive. You truly are a once-in-a-lifetime talent." I discussed with Chongmon Ryong my realization from the 1st to the 14th star of chi refining. My repeated experiences and insights up to the 7th and 8th stars were, I realized, on par with Chongmon Ryong. I also eagerly inquired about my realization from the 9th to the 14th star, and particularly about the principles and methods of transitioning from the 14th star of chi refining to chi building. I had now become quite learned in these principles and theories. Before we knew it, morning had arrived. "Do you not wish to become my disciple?" Once again, Chongmon Ryong, having seen my level of expertise of understanding before breakthrough, seemed interested in taking me as his disciple. I replied with a gentle smile. "Even if one is taught for just a day, they will be a father for a lifetime. You are already my master." Cut the flattery. Being a teacher for a day and whatnot, I truly want to take you as my real disciple. Have you really no intention of joining our main family? I smirked bitterly and bowed to my master. I have duties unaligned with joining a clan. I'm afraid it's not possible. My master fell silent. After a moment of silence, he sighed softly. "I can't keep someone who wants to leave. Rarely do I come across someone as agreeable as you." "Fine then. Go. Just go away." I bowed to my master and left the room where we had been talking. "Farewell." Just as I was about to leave the Chongmon clan's territory, thud, a muscular middle-aged man, Chongmon Ryokshin, blocked my path with a stern expression. "Where do you think you're going?" "Excuse me?" I asked where you were going. "I was just leaving after receiving teachings and saying my goodbyes to Grandmaster Chongmon Ryong." "What the?" Boom. A powerful surge of power burst forth. How dare you receive teachings from Elder Changman Ryong for a whole day, and then try to escape without fulfilling your duties as a disciple? No, it's not like that. You ungrateful wretch. You dare to make light of the great Changman clan. I cannot allow someone as impudent as you to become Elder Changman Ryong's disciple. I'll match you with a suitable branch family and make you my son-in-law. Whoosh. Changman Ryokshin's hand thrust towards me. I felt a chill run down my spine. If he catches me, I'll be forced into marriage. Swoosh. I evaded his grasp and leaped into the air. You dare to escape. Rumble. Clods of earth rose from the ground and flew towards me. Each clump transformed into hands trying to grasp me. I immediately extended my gang sphere from my hand. Bang. Crack. Crackle. The shining sphere revolved around me, bursting all the earth hands attempting to capture me. Virum. I linked the gang sphere, accelerating my thoughts. Zoom. At the same time, I swiftly rushed through the air, heading out of the territory. I could sense Changman Ryokshin's bafflement behind me. Changman Ryokshin stood with a dumbfounded expression, watching the direction Seo Eun-hyun had escaped. Escaped from the hands of a chi-building cultivator? Among cultivators in the chi refining stage, even a single star difference had a significant disparity in power. However, the gap between chi refining and chi building stages is incomparable. The young Seo who just fled, even if he was at the peak of chi refining, shouldn't be able to match a mid-level chi building cultivator from Changman. Originally, his plan was to have the young man captured by Changman's special technique and forcibly married to one of his descendants. But he broke the spell and escaped? A mere peak chi refining youngster? Chi building. A twisted smile spread across Changman Ryokshin's lips. He's immediately a chi building level combatant. Many elders above the nascent soul stage, considered usable talents, ascended to the higher realms, depleting the continent. The disappearance of strong cultivators above the core formation realm had already thrown the four directions into chaos. In such times, a peak chi refining talent with the potential to reach the chi building stage was a rare treasure. Further amongst them, one who could somewhat stand against a chi building cultivator, despite being only at chi refining. He's a big catch. Haha, I'll force-feed him a potion and marry him off to my descendant. Changman Ryokshin's eyes went wild. He took out a transmission device and sent a message to some chi building elders nearby. Then, he entered a house in the estate where Changman Ryong was located, where Seo Eun-hyun had his discussion. Ryong Hyunnim, why didn't you capture such a talent? He said he had things to do. What could I do? Hyungnim, that's frustrating. That guy brushed off my attack and ran away. What? Don't you get it? That kid could easily fulfill the role of a chi-building elder if we bring him in. Hyungnim, it looks like you like that kid too. Why didn't you catch him? Be honest with yourself, Hyungnim. Weren't you looking for someone who could understand your knowledge? Changman Ryokshin continued. Catching him aligns with the clan head's order to nurture talents in preparation for the upcoming chaotic political situation. It also means, Hyungnim, you could find a disciple to inherit your lifelong wish. This is frustrating. How long will you just wait? It's what you've always wanted, Hyungnim. Why sit and hesitate? Be honest. Changman Ryong remained silent for a moment. Then he looked up, meeting Changman Ryokshin's eyes. Changman Ryokshin flinched at the intense desire in Ryong's eyes. Yes, you're right. Changman Ryong stood up. It aligns with the clan head's order, and I should be more honest with myself. Changman Ryokshin felt a tremendous spiritual pressure. It's been a while since I've seen Hyungnim like this. The towering figure of the Changman clan rose. This is the first kid who understands precious knowledge in this muscle-headed clan. Yes, I must catch him now. His eyes flashed with a green light. I kicked off the air and reached the edge of the Changman clan's territory. Ahead was the clan's protective barrier. I extended my consciousness. A star of light emitted from my hand. Then, is this the guy Ryokshin told us to catch? A chi-building elder flew towards me. As he formed hand seals, the clan's barrier strengthened. Just surrender. Kwalong. Ignoring the elder's words, I sent a gang sphere towards the barrier. A tremendous explosion echoed, and a hole appeared in the barrier. What? The chi-building elder was shocked, and I quickly passed through the barrier, escaping the territory. However, I suddenly felt a chill. Behind me, two immense spiritual pressures were chasing me. Master and Changman Ryokshin were rapidly following me. Stop you. When caught, you'll be married off to my descendant. What nonsense. He's to marry my descendant. Whatever. The first to catch him decides who he marries. He won't escape becoming a member of our family. What madness. Why? I accelerated my mental capabilities and kicked off the air again. In an instant, I widened the gap between us, but as they took to the skies, they closed in again. I must escape to Yanghua. Once I crossed the Yanghua border, chi-building cultivators can't follow. I frantically headed east, kicking through the air. Behind me, a tremendous wooden attribute spiritual power world, and a giant wooden figure formed in the air, chasing me. You can't escape. Flash. Huge restraining spells shot from the wooden figure. I can't be caught. I released a gang sphere. Summoned from the world of intent. A clone identical to me appeared, releasing intent. Whoosh. The gang chi I infused into the gang sphere emerged, forming thousands of sword gang in the air. Chongmun and my master watched in awe. Is this the technique of externalizing spirit? Boom, bang, boom. The sword gang from the gang sphere clashed with the restraining spells, neutralizing them. My desire grows even stronger. What kind of technique has he mastered? No time to wonder, Hyungnim. He's getting away. The surrounding earth gathered around Chongmun Ryokshin, covering his body. Soon after, a giant earthen figure, identical to Chongmun Ryokshin, stepped onto the earth. Boom. With a powerful slap, dozens of gigantic earthen hands emerged from the ground, reaching towards me. Just get caught and marry. Damn it, I have things to do. I fired gang chi in all directions, but it couldn't scratch the chi building level spells. The earth hands soon formed a prison, trapping me. Flash. But I had already regenerated another gang sphere. The light swirled, creating an exit for me. I accelerated my thoughts. Dodging another set of wooden restraining spells, I quickly headed east. The pursuit by Chongmun clan elders continued for days. Several other elders, summoned by Chongmun Ryokshin, joined the chase, bombarding me with spells as I fled. On the fourth day of fleeing, I felt a strange sensation. How many times have I used gang sphere? Had I ever relied on it so desperately since reaching the ultimate pinnacle? I floated the gang sphere above my hand, sensing something I hadn't understood before. The gang sphere has always reacted to the principle of 3 talents. Why was that? An unknown reason then, but it seems clear now. Another self resides within the gang sphere. In a way, the gang sphere is a person. But a person isn't made up of themselves alone. Born and living under the grace of heaven and earth. A person is formed through countless connections, perhaps even including heaven and earth. This realization came during the pursuit by my master. If a master's grace is like heaven and earth, then heaven and earth have given me something as significant. Perhaps, if the many connections I've formed have made me who I am, then what heaven and earth have given is also part of me. The light on my hand vibrated. Centering on myself, I divided the light into yin and yang, heaven and earth. The cycle of heaven and earth began around the person. So that's it. Finally, I glimpsed a path further into the ultimate pinnacle. The gang sphere split into 2. With a burst of energy, I launched both gang spheres to either side, erasing numerous spells in one fell swoop. Raising 2 more spheres, I realized many more possibilities opened up. Accelerate, threefold. A multitude of spiritual wooden roots covered the sky and earth, transforming into a prison trying to capture me. However, I delved into that fleeting instant, escaping through a tiny gap just before the prison solidified. This kid, he's gotten faster. Now, the border of Yinghua was within reach. I descended to the ground, knelt, and deeply bowed towards Chongmun Ryong. I had gained this enlightenment through my master's heart. I hadn't formed as deep a connection as in my past life. This person is not the same as that person. Yet even so, I will not forget your kindness. Since my master's grace was as great as heaven and earth, I could understand a bit about heaven and earth. Thank you. And, I'm sorry, I cannot marry or be bound to a clan. What happens if I marry and have children? What becomes of my mind if they disappear with regression? I dreaded to even imagine. Additionally, being bound to a clan, especially since I demonstrated my strength, would mean being treated as an elder and prevented from traveling to other countries. I need to visit Yinghua, go to Shengzi to seek traces of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, and learn demon beast methods in the Black Wind Sea. Being tied to the Chongmun clan will be difficult for me. Thank you for your concern. I am truly grateful. After the final farewell, I quickly crossed the border of Yinghua, leaving behind the myriad spells that pursued me. Chongmun Ryong seemed to adjust the flow of dragon veins, but only to an extent. Once inside Yinghua, the dragon veins no longer shifted, and the Chongmun elders ceased their pursuit. That was intense. I almost got caught. I let out a small sigh and recomposed myself after crossing a few more mountains. I felt strange. Those who had not paid much attention to me before changed their reactions so dramatically once I reached the peak of chi refining. My stomach feels queasy. Perhaps it was land sickness from having floated in the air for so long, and then suddenly walking on stable ground. I feel strange and queasy. Suddenly, looking at the ground, I realized tears were flowing from my eyes. Ah, that's it. I understood why I felt strange, why I am queasy. I wanted to be caught. I know the Chongmun clan is a good clan. I know the elders who tried to capture me fiercely are good people. Chongmun clan, known for its strength and pride, is also a place I know well. Maybe I could have married there, become a son-in-law, and receive teachings from my master. Interact with the elders and live happily. Indeed, I wanted that. But then what? Everything disappears. Everything becomes nothing, forgotten. Even now, seeing my master and disciples again, I keenly feel how different it is from my previous life's connections. If I were to blend in, have children, and immerse myself in those connections, what kind of pain would I have to endure? From the enlightenment I just gained, I know. Humans are not made up solely of themselves. A being is formed within the connections of man, heaven, and earth. Yet, if all those connections eventually crumble and disappear, what meaning does that being's life have? Farewell. Swallowing this queasy feeling, I bow again in the direction of my master. Someday, in the far, far future, after I get to live a real life, I will greet you again. I want to find Kim Young-hoon. Chapter 63, Violent Storm, 3. Translating Novice. In my previous life, it was only in the twilight years of my life that I finally left Ascension Path and found Kim Young-hoon. At that time, Kim Young-hoon was already pursuing beyond the extreme limits of the ultimate pinnacle. Then, what level could Kim Young-hoon, who now has around 10 years of experience, have reached? It appears that for now, the Mockley clan still has control over the imperial power. It seems that neither the Jin clan nor Kim Young-hoon had yet usurped the throne. However, according to the rumors, the emperor and the crown prince were assassinated by some mysterious figure. It must have been Kim Young-hoon. From what I've gathered, Kim Young-hoon has not yet made contact with the Jin clan and seems to be on the run. In that case, it seemed unlikely to enter the Jin clan's domain through legitimate means. Still, I have to see their faces at least. I headed to the territory of the Jin clan and released a gang sphere. Whoosh! In the empty air, a hole was punctured in the formation that was spread around the domain. After erasing my presence completely with the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts and the hidden consciousness technique, I entered inside. Whether an alarm was raised or not, the cultivators of the Jin clan were jumping out in all directions to guard, but none could detect me. Leaving the cultivators behind, I headed towards the training ground where the disciples were practicing. There's no one. Both the training ground and the disciples' quarters were empty, covered in dust. It seems that after the emperor and crown prince's deaths, the Jin clan had decided not to operate the assassination unit. Then, I recalled my past life's memories and headed to where the disciples lived within the domain. As expected, the disciples were scattered throughout the territory, learning the work of mortals. Their faces were noticeably younger than in my previous life. Young adults, fresh-faced, were learning various tasks here and there. After watching them aimlessly for a while, I smiled softly and quickly exited through the opening I created. Having left the Jin clan, I decided to look for Kim Young-hoon first. Considering Kim Young-hoon's personality, the pursuit of the Mockley clan, and the geographical features of Yanghua, I narrowed down the possible hiding places for Kim Young-hoon by combining information from my past life. Before long, I set out towards a likely hiding place for Kim Young-hoon. In the vicinity of Bokju City in Yanghua, among the mountain ridges. He was likely hiding in a settlement there. Tap, tap, tap. I stepped through the air towards the direction of a mountain fort among the mountain ridges. The majestic mountains unveiled themselves, and I could see people bustling below. Indeed, he was here. I enhanced my sight to see what the bustling people were doing and smirked. They were all practicing martial arts. All familiar martial arts. Although not the severing mountain swordsmanship or severing vein saber method, every one of them carried traces of Kim Young-hoon. As I was void stepping and looking down below, whoosh! A flash of light spread in the air and rushed towards me. Thud! But as I flicked my finger, the flash of light dissipated and vanished. This is centered around me in all 6 directions, up, down, front, back, left, right, was dyed with clusters of gang chi. Dual energy sword control. I floated a gang sphere into my hand. I transferred another consciousness of mine and embedded the gang sphere among the light swarms rushing at me. I usurped control over the gang chi. The gang chi coalesced in the air under my will and lined up. Then, I distinctly felt it. A martial art that stealthily slashed through my consciousness and cut through my perception. I densified my consciousness and launched the seized gang chi towards the sneaky approacher. Boom. A figure sprang out in the air like an apparition and deflected the bundles of gang chi I had thrown. What? Who are you? How could a cultivator like you? Haha. A cultivator, you say? That's quite an understatement. I haven't even used any profound cultivation spells yet. It was purely a feat of martial skill. As I coalesced thousands of gang chi clusters into a gang sphere in my hand, his eyes widened. Long time no see, Director Kim. You are. And then, as he finally remembered my face, Kim Young-hoon's eyes widened. Deputy Manager CO. It's been a long time since I've heard that title. However, I focus more on Kim Young-hoon's gaze rather than my title. Really, to what extent has Kim Young-hoon reached at this point of time? What realm has he attained? I think I know, but Confirmation is necessary. Whoosh. The gang sphere in my hand splits into two. I absorb one to accelerate my mental capabilities and raise the other at my fingertip. Bang. Tearing through the void, I reach Kim Young-hoon and thrust my hand holding the elevated gang sphere. Kim Young-hoon reacts hastily just before my hand can touch him, barely avoiding my attack. He can't accelerate his mental facilities yet. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Gang chi is layered over the void, but it's chaotic. Whoosh. A powerful aura of control arises around my gang sphere, completely seizing control of Kim Young-hoon's gang chi. Thousands of strands of gang chi wrapped in the void all move under my will. What? Thousands of sword controls under my command orderly seal the 6 directions around Kim Young-hoon, pressuring him. Kim Young-hoon, although flustered, continuously inputs his intent calmly, trying to regain control of the gang chi I've taken. At the same time, perhaps realizing he shouldn't approach me, he extends and swings the gang chi from a distance. His combat sense is excellent. It hasn't even been 10 seconds since we started fighting, but he's already becoming familiar with fighting against an ultimate pinnacle expert and figuring out the tricks. On top of that, he keeps trying various ways to regain control of the gang chi, and his use of intent is becoming more refined. However, boom, the void is torn apart. A cracking sound resonates, and before I know it, I've reached right in front of Kim Young-hoon. The difference in realm is inevitable. Bang! I swing my hand containing the gang sphere. This time, Kim Young-hoon doesn't hastily avoid it. Instead, he moves fluidly like water, dodging my attack and countering me. This movement it's systematic. Yet, it's a movement I've never seen before. There is only one answer. He just created a martial art just to counter me. It may sound crazy, but Kim Young-hoon is someone who saw the Severing Mountain swordsmanship and invented the Severing Vein Saber method in just 2 or 3 months of learning martial arts. It's a martial art tailored to me, created on the spot while sparring with me. If it's Kim Young-hoon, he really could create a martial art suited for the situation to oppose me on the spot. Excitement starts to well up within me. I smile brightly and stretch out my hand again. This is so Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon's movement accelerates momentarily and reacts to my speed, knocking away my attack. Not my gang sphere, but my wrist. In my eyes, having reached ultimate pinnacle, I could roughly guess how he did it. He momentarily accelerated the flow of internal energy in his body, optimizing his movement to the flow, and increased his instant reaction speed for a brief moment. That's the martial art he created on the spot to use against me. At first, he was just busy avoiding. The second clash, he fluidly evaded. The third time, he knocked away my arm. He is growing with each exchange, second by second. Tingle, tingle. A chilling sensation encircles my entire body. I could guess Kim Young-hoon's realm. Right now, about 10 years in, he's at the realm of 5 energies converging to the origin. He's not a match for me, an ultimate pinnacle, either in terms of experience or pure skill. However, that insane talent of his is continuously creating martial arts to oppose me as he clashes with me. I can't help but admire. Kim Young-hoon swiftly mixes a couple of martial arts and rushes at me. Again, they're martial arts I've never seen. At the same time, I can feel they're aimed and created just for me. It must have been made just now. Nevertheless, it was a martial art excellently prepared to confront someone faster and stronger than himself. However, boom. Without accelerating my thinking with a gang sphere, I float 2 gang spheres beside me and rush towards Kim Young-hoon, dismantling his martial art with pure force. I then reached out to Kim Young-hoon's head and grabbed it. I raise my knee and strike. Kim Young-hoon quickly deploys protective gang chi on his chin to absorb the shock. But I use the moment he loses his balance to flip him over and throw him down. Then, using the 1,000-weight fall, I pressed him from above as we both fall. We started falling together. Kim Young-hoon tries desperately to shake me off in midair, but I stubbornly stay above him. When Kim Young-hoon swings his saber, a sawtooth-shaped gang chi whirls towards me. He spun 3 times in midair, accelerating instantly. Thin threads of gang chi shot out, secretly targeting me in the void. All of these were martial arts I have never seen before, and all of them were obviously crafted to counter me. Kim Young-hoon was creating martial arts in real time, doing everything he could to shake me off. The ground was getting closer. The martial artist training at the fort saw us falling and panicked. In a brief moment, another martial art he just created activated. Kim Young-hoon's gang chi concentrated at one point, displaying a tremendous explosive power. It wasn't a gang sphere. The principle was entirely different. Only the form was somewhat similar. But that explosive force momentarily separated me from Kim Young-hoon. In that instant, Kim Young-hoon spun his body, accelerating rapidly and blended into the void like a phantom with record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. In a blink of an eye, Kim Young-hoon was above me, grabbing my clothes. The ground was right before us. He intended to smash me right into the ground. In a single moment, I read the flow of energy inside Kim Young-hoon's body and used that flow to reverse the situation. The situation, where Kim Young-hoon was about to smash me into the ground, turned upside down, and now I was about to do the same to him. Boom. Dust flew up, shaking the surroundings. Birds in the quiet mountains flew upwards, and the area became noisy. Tingle. I saw a tingling pain in my hand holding Kim Young-hoon and smirked slightly. As a master of 5 energies converging to the origin, I knew he'd protect himself with defensive Gang Chi when I smashed him into the ground. But in that brief instant, he created another martial art that transferred some of the impact of the descent to me, delivering a painfully sharp counterattack. Such insane talent. No wonder he managed to ambush and kill chi-building cultivators even when he was just at the 5 energies converging to the origin. He creates optimized martial arts on the spot, depending on who he's facing. A monster, unbelievable, wondrous. Such terms don't do justice to his talent, which exists in a different dimension. A talent that won't appear again in 1,000 years, before and after? Nonsense. Even in 10,000 years, before and after, no martial artist surpassing Kim Young-hoon's talent will likely appear. I stepped down from above Kim Young-hoon and dusted off my hands. Please get up, director. I believe you must have gained a lot from this spar. Spar? Was that sparring? You were attacking like you wanted to kill me. I was just desperately fighting for my life. Haha. I originally intended to make it feel like a light spar. But your talent is unbelievably great, so I did put in a few serious moves. Kim Young-hoon chuckled and got up, brushing off his waist. Serious moves? You didn't even absorb that mass to accelerate at the end and just drove me with pure force. Are you mocking me? As we talked, the bandits who had fled earlier started to peek their heads out. Seeing them, Kim Young-hoon frowned and shouted, "You lot, there's a guest here. What are you dawdling for? Hurry up and prepare to welcome the guest." Yes, leader. Who are they? Nothing much. They were going to raid the village I was hiding in, so I beat them all nearly to death and reformed them to make use of them. That's commendable. We chatted and slowly unwound the reunion of 10 years. Several days passed. During these days, I taught Kim Young-hoon martial arts and gave him the key to ascend to Ultimate Pinnacle. At this rate, he'll reach Ultimate Pinnacle within half a year. The growth rate is insane. Plus, it's only been 10 years. I have about 40 years left until I die. In that time, will he be able to surpass the record of surpassing path in martial arts in this life? Right? Let's give some help to Kim Young-hoon. Seeing Kim Young-hoon's talent, I further resolved to study demon beast methods. If the martial arts of humans are similar to those of demons, perhaps we can also learn from the demon beasts regarding the realm we aspire to reach. Just as humans learn martial techniques from animals, could the next realm also be learned from demon beasts? I have already passed on all the enlightenment and keys of Ultimate Pinnacle to him. With his talent, he should be able to reach Ultimate Pinnacle and form his inner core within half a year without my guidance. Then, I shall take my leave. Are you not going to stay to see me reach Ultimate Pinnacle? I considered taking Kim Young-hoon with me, but he declined, expressing a desire to properly enter and consolidate his understanding of Ultimate Pinnacle. With your talent, Kim Hyung, I know you will surely reach it. However, I wish to seek information about realms beyond Ultimate Pinnacle elsewhere. I will return later. When we meet again, I smiled and bowed to Kim Young-hoon. I hope next time, Kim Hyung, you can teach me. All right, next time, I'll make sure I've reached a higher realm than you. We bid each other farewell and went our separate ways. Leaving behind my intense encounter with Kim Young-hoon, I set out for the Black Wind Sea, as mentioned by Seo Huiol. Black Wind Sea, Utmost Chaos Island. The Black Wind Sea, located to the south of Shengzi, Yinghua, and Biokra, is a treacherous sea where storms blew unpredictably, and deep within lived numerous demon beast packs. Known as the territory of numerous demon tribes, it was also said that the main headquarters of the Black Ghost Valley was near the Black Wind Sea. There are many islands in Black Wind Sea, but finding Utmost Chaos Island was not so difficult. An island ruled by a sea dragon. Utmost Chaos Island was one of the islands famous for being under the rule of a sea dragon. I sailed to Utmost Chaos Island and inquired with the locals about the sea dragon, Seo Ran. Seo Ran was revered as a kind of guardian spirit of the island, receiving modest offerings each year to protect the ships from storms and the island from demon beast packs. A benevolent sea dragon, it seems. After all, the offerings were just a few food items from Utmost Chaos Island. It wasn't a wicked demon demanding maiden sacrifices, but genuinely seemed like a guardian spirit of the island. Originally, Utmost Chaos Island was just a land full of thorny bushes, not so suitable for living. It wasn't called Utmost Chaos Island, but Thorn Demon Island. But our ancestors were pitted by the guardian spirit who came to this land and helped cultivate it. Since then, following the guardian spirit's name, Thorn Demon Island was renamed Utmost Chaos Island. Honestly, where would you find orchids on this island to call it Utmost Chaos Island? Doesn't make sense when translated, but think of it as a pun. One of the village elders explained the origin of the name Utmost Chaos Island and about the guardian spirit, Co Ran. Co Ran was a giant sea dragon about 10 feet in size. It was said to be a wise dragon, interested in human culture and proficient in their language. At the same time, to see Co Ran, one had to go west of Utmost Chaos Island. At the western sacrificial altar, where offerings are made every year, one could occasionally see Co Ran swimming in the sea beyond. Is there anything I should be careful of when meeting the guardian spirit? Well, the thing is, the guardian spirit doesn't like sharp objects, so don't bring swords or such in front of them. Thank you. I thanked the elder and headed towards the western sacrificial altar mentioned in Utmost Chaos Island. The altar was located on a cliff on the western side of the island, a simple altar built 3 feet high on the cliff. I'll be able to see Co Ran from here. What should I say when I see it? That Co Huiol sent me? Before I could finish my thoughts, whoosh, a massive shadow was cast over my head. Bang! At the same time, the Demon Beast Method manual given to me by Co Huiol, hidden in my possession, emitted a blue water attribute spiritual energy and vibrated. Simultaneously, through my consciousness, Co Ran's consciousness echoed. What are you? What brings you here with the skin of a sea crystal beast that only reacts within the embrace of the demon race while in the form of a human? He was a dragon with blue scales, a slender body, silver blue horns, and a white beard like sea foam. I smiled, took out the manual, and introduced myself. I am called Co Unhyun. The Sea Dragon King Co Huiol told me that I am a hybrid of human and demon and instructed me to go find Co Ran to learn the language and script of the demon race and master the demon beast methods. It's now time to study the method of demons. Please teach me, descendant of the great Sea Dragon King. Co Ran asked me in a curious tone. The king said you are a hybrid of human and demon. Yes, that's right. Strange. Why do I see you as a demon disguised in human form? I couldn't help but be surprised by Co Ran's following words. It's not just a feeling of strong demon blood in you. Aren't you just a demon itself? Translator notes. Extra donated chapters are on the way. Chapter 64, Violent Storm 4. /Translating Novice. Demon? I asked in bewilderment. I am aware that I possess a demon core, as informed by the Sea Dragon King. However, he called me a demi-human. Why then do you say I am a disguised demon? What I'm referring to isn't the physical aspect. It's more about the mental part. It is from your consciousness that I deduce you are a demon. My consciousness? It was such an unexpected answer that I looked at him, puzzled. It seems you don't understand. First, look at my consciousness with the eyes of your consciousness. If you have opened the divine consciousness, you should be able to do that, right? Yes, that's within my capability. Whoosh. I entered the world of intent and looked at Co Ran's consciousness. I couldn't help but flinch. The form of the consciousness domain, it's entirely different. In the case of someone like Co Huiol, the size of consciousness was too vast to even determine its form. But with Co Ran, the consciousness domain was not spherical, but thinly wrapped around the upper part of his body, manifesting in the same form as himself. What is this? I observed the peculiar form of Co Ran's consciousness domain and simultaneously noticed the colors emanating from various parts of his body. His horns shone with a color that symbolizes pride. His hind legs, for some reason, were tinged with a hue of sadness. It was while I was observing his consciousness and colors. Indeed, you possess a completely different vision from ordinary human cultivators. Human cultivators merely get surprised by seeing the form of my consciousness. But you are definitely seeing something else, aren't you? Yes, that's true, but you have observed the areas that I have always been most concerned about. There are slight differences in vision depending on the race, but fundamentally, the demon race sees a tremendous difference in vision from human cultivators. Co Ran continued his explanation. The difference in divine consciousness between the demon and human races is mainly in the aspect of heaven and earth. Your human race receives the celestial energy of the heavens, allowing you to read one's lifespan and basic celestial phenomenons when looking at the sky. You can also somewhat read fate. But we, the demon race, cannot read fate just by looking at the sky. Occasionally, some unique demons find ritual methods suited to them and read heavenly phenomenons like humans. Generally, the vast majority of us can't read the heavens, but instead read the spiritual energy flowing over this land. Spiritual energy? There are many different tribes within the demon race, so not all are the same. But fundamentally, all of us in the demon race read the yin and yang of spiritual energy. Co Ran continued his explanation. Unlike humans, we can't observe celestial energy. But the heaven and earth spiritual energy continuously circulates according to the principle of yin and yang. Aren't we visualizing and observing this circulation of yin and yang? By reading and understanding this circulation, we can obtain information different from human cultivators. Typically, animals can detect danger and flee quickly because of this reason. We might not have the ability to read grander flows like humans, but in terms of intuition, visualizing this yin and yang is the biggest difference between demon and human consciousness. What? The more I heard, the more I felt a strange sense of dissonance. What I was seeing was not the scene described by Co. Ran. What I was seeing was countless hues based on 7 colors, visualizing the intent of countless beings. I had never saw the circulation of spiritual energy as described by Co. Ran. That's why I judge you as a disguised demon. The unique temperament of your consciousness, which only appears among demon beasts when detecting the circulation of yin and yang, exists in your consciousness. What could it be? Is the world of 7 colors I've entered the circulation of spiritual energy Co. Ran speaks of? But no matter how I look, this scene seemed far too removed from the circulation of yin and yang. Why did the king judge you as a demi-human? You don't seem to be lying, and it's impossible for the king to be mistaken. Hybrids of humans and demons typically follow human consciousness, specialized in reading celestial phenomenons, not the flow of yin and yang. According to Co. Ran, why then did the Sea Dragon King consider me a demi-human? Shouldn't he have seen me as a disguised demon, like Co. Ran did right away? Thinking about it, a thought struck me. When I met Co. Huiol, was my consciousness just like a typical human's? Perhaps it was after meeting Co. Huiol that my consciousness underwent a transformation. The biggest change to my consciousness was yin and yang, heaven and earth, the 3 talents. Realizing the principle of the 3 talents and creating the division of the gang sphere. That was the most significant event that changed my consciousness in this life. I felt like I had grasped a clue. I focused more on that sensation of splitting the gang sphere, not creating it, but as an axis where heaven and earth revolved. Buzzing. As I concentrated on that sensation, my head started to hurt unbearably. You didn't know your true identity? By realizing now, your consciousness has become more firmly established. Despite the headache, I knew I was on the right track and focused even more on that sensation. It felt like breaking through something that was blocked. But this kind of sensation, I felt this when reaching the peak, and when I reached the 5 energies converging to the origin. Breakthrough. I as man. The 2 gang spheres, as heaven and earth. When I realized this, I was able to split the gang spheres stably. That sensation, just a bit more. Arg. My head felt like it was going to split open. But I clenched my teeth, enduring the pain, and focused even more on the sensation. Blood dripped from my nose and eyes. My ears were buzzing. My senses seemed to fade away. And then, boom. The sensation I felt when reaching the 5 energies converging to the origin and being connected to heaven and earth spiritual energy. Similar, yet a new sensation completely settled in. No, it wasn't just settling. It was more like awakening the senses that I always had. Heaven and earth are endlessly flowing. Or should I say, yin and yang, heaven and earth? No, it should be Taiji. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth is flowing everywhere, drawing Taiji. In the leaves, in the water droplets, even in Co. Ran's body. Everywhere, yin and yang is circulating, stabilizing heaven and earth. At that moment, I instinctively raised my hand. A gang sphere rose from my palm. The gang sphere split into 2, following the principle of yin and yang circulation of heaven and earth. But why? When I see the circulation of yin and yang, why did I evolve the gang sphere through the principle of 3 talents? The Taiji of yin and yang circulating in heaven and earth. They are not always in a perfect shape. Sometimes they circulate not in a circle but in an ellipse, a flattened shape, indescribably changing. And these changes originate from beings with spiritual power. I then seem to understand why my realization was connected to the 3 talents. In the world, there are heaven and earth, yin and yang, but within them, beings are born and the living change heaven and earth. They are the essence of man. Born between heaven and earth, all beings change the world. Change itself is the circulation of heaven and earth, yin and yang. Whiz. As the 2 gang spheres were rotating, tailing each other, a faint aura connected them. From the 2 gang spheres, a third one split. The 3 gang spheres were rotating above my heart, following the principle of heaven, earth, and man. I had gained enlightenment on the ultimate pinnacle realm. Zing. At the same time, I could no longer cling to the senses of yin and yang and withdrew from it. Akin to when I first entered the world of intent, staying any longer felt like my brain would burn out. However, thanks to the gained insights, the 3 rotating gang spheres remained. Co. Ran looked at the gang spheres with interest. Oh, what's that? A trait of your race? Well, let's just say so. Among humans, Kim Young-hoon and I were the first to reach the ultimate pinnacle, so I decided to just go with that. Thanks to Sir Seo Ran for clearly identifying my identity, I could more firmly see the world of heaven and earth. Thank you. Haha, sure. If the Dragon King sent you, I should help this much. Seeing you now, it seems you hadn't fully awakened your demon consciousness when you met the king. Now you really have no difference from a demon beast. But it's strange. How come a demi-human has a demon's consciousness and not a human's? It's really rare and hard to understand. Isn't it not an absolute rule? Seo Ran shook his head. Sorry, but it's indeed an absolute rule. The fact that human cultivators can read heavens will means that humans found a ritual method suitable for them and became a race that communicates with the heavens. If the consciousness of human cultivators is attuned to the heavens, then the consciousness of a demon beast is aligned with the circulation of spiritual energy, symbolizing the earth. Since heaven suppresses earth, the mixed blood of a demi-human always inherits the divine consciousness of the human race. But what about you? Are you some kind of anomaly where heaven and earth are reversed? How did a hybrid awaken the consciousness of the demon race? While listening to Seo Ran's explanation, I realized something again. Originally, cultivators specialized in reading the celestial energy with their consciousness, and the demon race in reading the circulation of spiritual energy. But those who reached the 5 energies converging to the origin based their consciousness on the 7 colors of intent. According to Seo Ran, the world of 7 colors I've seen so far is completely different from both human cultivators and demon beasts. What does the vision of consciousness I perceive signify? Human? Is it just a racial characteristic inherent to humans? But what if it's not? What if it follows the logic of the 3 talents, the perspective of man? However, the concept of heaven, earth, and man in the 3 talents is a very human-centric principle. Heaven, earth, and man. Are humans comparable to heaven and earth? It's not just humans who live in this world. I'm not sure. For now, I decided to think of it as a racial characteristic of humans. Even if I find other reasons later, this is the only hypothesis I have now. I organized my thoughts and, after dispelling the gang's fears, gave Seo Ran a fist salute. Thank you for helping me open my eyes. What nonsense are you spouting? You were the one who established your identity after listening to me. Why are you thanking me? It's like thanking someone else for opening your eyes that you rubbed awake yourself. And anyway, since the king sent you to me, it means he wants me to teach you the demon language. I'm fluent in both human culture and language. His words continued. Since you've awakened the same consciousness as the demon race, it will be much easier to teach you. A typical demi-human hybrid would normally need to learn special powers to learn the demon language. I need to learn some kind of power to understand the language? Come with me. Being out in the open at the altar, I can feel the mortals of Utmost Chaos Island approaching. They might offer tributes again if they see me, so let's go to my place first. Whoosh. Seo Ran turned around and started swimming towards the sea. I also leaped off the cliff. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. I stepped on the waves and continued to follow Seo Ran. After following the dragon across the sea for some time, my place is below here. Follow me down. Whoosh. Seo Ran stopped swimming on the surface and dived down. I sighed lightly, looking down at the dark sea below. I should definitely learn up to a certain stage in the water-surpassing path in my next life. I took a deep breath and jumped into the sea. With my experience in feeling the patterns in the air, I now sensed the patterns in the water currents, swimming as fast as I could to catch up to Seo Ran. Seo Ran seemed to be going slow enough for me to follow, but in the water, it was still hard to keep up. After feeling the increasing water pressure and descending further, I saw countless coral reefs below, like a garden underneath the sea. In a gap of the coral garden, there was an underwater cave. Seo Ran entered the underwater cave, and I followed him in. The underwater cave went down and then up again. After swimming up for a while in the cave, whoosh, phew, I was able to finally breathe in the fresh air. The air is surprisingly refreshing. I evaporated the water on me using my internal energy as I climbed onto the ground inside the cave, feeling the remarkably fresh air. Welcome to my abode. There's a special coral here called clear coral that always keeps the air clean. Even ordinary terrestrial beings can live here. The air is as refreshing as in some deep mountains. As Seo Ran activated his spiritual power, the round spirit stones embedded in the ceiling began to emit light. Seo Ran's cave was incredibly large and spacious, with tunnels leading to other places here and there. He laid his massive body in the cave and spoke. If the king commanded you to find me, then it would be better for me to quickly and comfortably teach you. Besides, since you have awakened the consciousness of the demon race, you don't need to learn the special powers I mentioned. First, I should explain a bit about the demon race's language. I listened intently to Seo Ran's explanation. Your human race produces sounds using vocal cords and conveys words by vibrating the air, turning them into language, correct? Yes, that's right. We of the demon race can also make sounds with our voice. However, most of us were animals before gaining spirituality through cultivation. So, even if we talked using the sounds we made as animals, other races wouldn't understand no matter what. But there's a reason why we, the demon race, are collectively known as demon. There's something common among us. Notably, the demon core unique to our race and the consciousness that perceives the circulation of spiritual energy. Whoosh. As Co Ran raised his forepaw, spiritual energy whirled above it. Realizing he was about to show something important, I reawakened the senses from before. It felt like my head was burning up, but once again, I could see the circulation of Taiji in the flow of heaven and earth. Above Co Ran's forepaw was the circulation of yin and yang. Many demons have agreed upon this common point. Our common language, from now on, shall be based on this consciousness. Whoosh whoosh. Co Ran opened his mouth. Spiritual energy burst from his mouth, drawing numerous Taiji patterns in the air. I heard no sound, nor did I perceive any reaction from the spiritual energy. To an unknowing observer, it would seem like just a slight release of spiritual energy from the mouth. However, I could see it. The spiritual energy whirled and transformed into something. If human speech is conveyed through air as a medium, the demon race's speech is conveyed through spiritual energy. Focusing more on the sense of seeing the circulation of spiritual energy, it seemed like I could hear its sound in my ears. Well, it wasn't exactly hearing or seeing, but more of an intuitive feeling. Strictly speaking, this wasn't visualization at all. And percent happy face $. I couldn't understand the meaning, but through it, I was able to hear Co Ran's voice. It seems you roughly understand. Now, it won't be a problem to teach you some demon language. Co Ran, realizing I heard his voice, grinned and began teaching me the demon language. Half a year has passed. I earned numerous words and vocabulary in the demon language, as well as the method of speaking it. I became completely familiar with the sense of perceiving the circulation of yin and yang. Now you can probably read most books without any problems. Thank you. I owe it to you, Co Hyung. I expressed my gratitude to Co Ran, who spoke to me using his voice. I had just finished reading a basic cultural book about the demon race given by Co Ran today. Now you should be able to read the demon beast method given by the king without any problems. There won't be any more confusing vocabulary, so it's safe to read the manual. Thank you. Haha, no need. I'm glad I could fulfill a favor for the king. We exchanged a few words of gratitude. During the conversation, Co Ran asked me. Actually, fulfilling the king's request was partly because it was from him, but also because I have a favor to ask of you. Would you be willing to help me? Well, if it's Co Hyung who taught me the demon language, I'll help as much as I can. Thank you. In fact, maybe the king sent you to me because of the issue I'm currently contemplating. About 30 years ago, I discovered a large barrier deep in the Black Wind Sea. Inside that barrier, I found something crucial for my cultivation. However, the barrier can only be broken by combining the powers of the human and demon races, and I haven't met a trustworthy human cultivator to attempt it. He politely asked for my help. If you help me, he'll assist with the method you received from the king. Your bloodline definitely contains that of the human race, so it will be helpful in breaking the barrier. I readily nodded. If you need my help, I should naturally assist. I'm also happy to repay the teachings I received from Co Hyung. Good. Thank you. Then shall we start learning the method right away? I took out the demon beast method I received from Sea Dragon King Co Huiol. The manual was bound in the hide of some beast. According to Co Ran, it seems to be the hide of a creature called Crystal Beast. I read the title of this demon beast method. The manual was called Summoning Wind, Dragon Transformation. Translator notes. Chapter donated by Tustone, Alinis, and KittyFence69. Thanks for the support. One more chapter to come. Chapter 65, Violent Storm, 5. Translating Novice. Summoning Wind, Dragon Transformation. I read the demon beast method from beginning to end. Whenever I came across an unfamiliar demon script, I asked Co Ran for clarification, which helped me fully understand the manual. This is completely different from the cultivation methods practiced by humans. Unlike humans who base their practices on the 5 elements, the demon race's methods are based on their inherent primal instincts. It's not about accurately classifying and manipulating the attributes contained in the heavenly and earth spiritual energy. Instead, it involves recklessly absorbing the mixed spiritual energy and then forcibly purifying it within the body, relying on the demon race's primal instincts to control it. That was the foundation of the demon beast methods. As I looked at the technique for indiscriminately absorbing the heaven and earth spiritual energy, I narrowed my eyes. Isn't this similar to internal energy methods? It was exactly that. The aspect of absorbing mixed spiritual energy was no different from a martial artist's internal energy method. The difference lay in the subsequent activation and purification of that energy. If martial artists also activate and purify their internal energy, could they learn demon beast methods like the demon race? Probably not. The enlightenment directly linked to demon-beast methods is the sensation of earth, the world of yin and yang. Martial artists who can perceive such things do not exist. Moreover, if a martial artist were to activate such energy within their body, they would literally tear apart and die. It's dangerous. A literal perfect way to die. But it's worth learning. Fortunately, I had enough of a catalyst in my body to activate the energy. Chi refining 13th star, unified origin completed. From this point, one needs to complete Chi refining 14th star, infinite spiritual cloud, and then challenge the Chi building stage. Generally, once someone completes Chi refining 12th star, merging all spiritual meridians into one, they are ready to enter Chi building. From Chi refining 13th star, it's essentially a preparatory stage for Chi building. Co Ran Hyung. I'm going to seclude myself nearby to learn this method. Alright, I also need to make preparations to break the barrier, so return within 3 years. Leaving Co Ran's cave to cultivate, I went to a suitable rocky island nearby. After digging a cave to avoid disturbances, I began my first attempt at Chi building along with summoning wind, dragon transformation. Chi refining 13th star, unified origin. A stage where the spiritual power formed in the spiritual meridians is concentrated into a single point in the dantian. To reach the next stage, infinite spiritual cloud, I needed to activate the point of spiritual power in the dantian and create a cloud of spiritual power inside. I'll activate the point of unified origin. Boom. A thunderous vibration seemed to come from within the dantian. Bang. The point of Chi exploded. In that explosion, the energy within the inner core transformed and became purified. But this isn't enough. After the explosion of the origin point, a cloud of spiritual power flew out. Whoosh. Chi refining 14th star. I entered the infinite spiritual cloud stage. With this cloud, rumble, I condense it, continuously condensing the cloud until it reached its limit. And now, I challenge Chi building. Flash. A light seemed to ignite inside the dantian. Then the clouds began to contract. And when the contraction reached a critical point, quang, a powerful explosion sounded as if thunder was striking within me. A blast far stronger than before, potentially lethal if it ruptures the dantian. However, I drew energy from the inner core to prevent the blast from escaping, thereby preventing a lethal explosion. Phew, is it over? The cloud of spiritual power, created by the eruption of the unified origin point, had lost all its energy and vanished. My cultivation, which had soared to Chi refining 14th star for a moment, had returned to the completed level of Chi refining 12th star. I can return to Chi refining 13th star by repeating the circulation of power. But for now, it was a drop in cultivation. My first attempt at Chi building ended in failure. However, whoosh, in the center of the dantian. Due to the tremendous activation during the breakthrough, the power within the inner core became incredibly purified. With this purified energy, I'll utilize the techniques of demon-beast methods. The inner core began vibrating. Simultaneously, my consciousness began to tremble and sync with the vibration. According to the technique in the method, I align my consciousness with the primal instincts described by the method. Grumble. My consciousness transforms. Just as Co Ran's consciousness covers his body in his own form, my consciousness, which had been enveloping me in a spherical form, began to morph into the shape of a dragon. It's somewhat uncomfortable. After all, it was a human trying to learn the cultivation methods of a demon beast. No matter how careful I am, there is bound to be some disharmony. It feels like wearing clothes that don't fit. But still, after aligning my consciousness with the dragon's primal instincts, I began to manipulate the energy accordingly. Rumble. Spiritual power began to surge outwards. The demon race's methods do not progressively activate the spiritual meridians in an orderly manner. Instead, it recklessly races towards the final form of the method without caring for anything else. The practitioner's physique must change towards the final form of the method. Rumble. As the surging spiritual power whirls outwards, the spiritual meridians inside my body gradually adapt and change. Once this transformation is complete, I should be able to use some of the abilities described in Summoning Wind, Dragon Transformation. I will become much stronger. However, it's excruciatingly painful. Perhaps because it's not meant for humans to learn. Every time my spiritual meridians forcibly adapt to Summoning Wind, Dragon Transformation, it feels as though they are tearing apart. I grit my teeth. Crack. Inside the cave on the rocky island, as I clench my fists, handprints imprint on the cave walls. Gritting my teeth, I continue to cultivate the method. I'll find the next path, the next realm of martial arts, and a way for someone without talent like me to ascend to Chi building. I will find it, no matter what. A year passed. Above the Black Wind Sea, on a certain rocky island, the quiet rocky island began to undergo changes. Creak, crack. The island started to shake. Rumble. The vibrations emanating from the island grew stronger, and then, crack, the island began to split. Quang quang quang. The island shattered, and a dragon's ascension began. From within the island, a powerful whirlwind surged, grinding the island from inside out. Rumble. Black rocks are torn apart and lifted into the air, swirling in all directions. In the middle of the sea, a small whirlwind strikes. Roar. At the center of the whirlwind, there is a shadowy figure. From this being, the whirlwind drew water from the black wind sea into the sky, scattering rain in all directions. At the center of the whirlwind, the shadowy figure inside draws in wind for a while before moving the whirlwind onto a nearby rocky island. Gradually, the wind dies down, and the figure inside uses the wind to step onto the rocky island. I move my consciousness, feeling the wind that placed me on the rocky island. My consciousness, which had transformed into a form akin to a sea dragon, returned to its spherical shape. This is summoning wind, dragon transformation. Literally, a demon beast method that summons wind. I recall a familiar memory, thinking of the ability I had just displayed. Throughout the time I have been learning this method, a sense of DJ view has been growing, which exploded when I finally used that ability. It was like, isn't this similar to what the Mockley clan uses? The wind attribute spells used by the Mockley clan. They were so similar to this method that it was uncanny. The difference being, unlike the faint devilish aura in the wind called by the Mockley clan, summoning wind, dragon transformation has a ferocious wildness in its winds. That was the difference between summoning wind, dragon transformation, and the wind techniques of the Mockley clan. Come to think of it, most of the Mockley clan spells are related to dragons. I used to think the Mockley clan spells were of the Een attribute. But thinking again, all the spells used by the Mockley clan, the river with the smell of decaying bodies, the whirlwinds where wind dragons and wind phoenixes appear, the spells that cover the sky in dark clouds to bring down rain, they are all related to water and wind. Water and wind. These are powers related to storms. And historically, dragons have been called the tribes of the storm, especially the Sea Dragon clan, symbolizing the storm of the sea. What is the relationship between the Mockley clan, a devilish clan, and the Sea Dragon tribe? Also, how is summoning wind, dragon transformation related to the devilish arts of the Mockley clan? Could this demon beast method also be a kind of devilish art? No, it's not a devil path method. Those who have learned devilish arts, especially those from the Mockley clan, emit an unpleasant devilish aura, but I don't feel that here. Still, as soon as I realized the connection between summoning wind, dragon transformation, and the Mockley clan, I felt a certain repulsion. The power is certainly outstanding. It seems to suit me well, unlike other methods such as Earth-surpassing path, as I achieved it much faster. But still, there's discomfort as if I'm wearing ill-fitted clothes, and the connection with the Mockley clan only amplifies this uneasiness. I'm not sure. No point in worrying about it now. Better to ask Co Ran later for a clear explanation. After shaking off these thoughts, I pondered what to do next. Should I go to Co Ran's cave? Or should I return to the mainland? After all, Co Ran said it's fine as long as I return within 3 years. I've just barely learned the basic abilities of summoning wind, dragon transformation. Should I go to Co Ran to receive further guidance and enhance my mastery of the method? Or should I go to the mainland to search for traces of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect in the western mountains of Xingzi during the remaining time? According to Jin Byako, there are some records left by the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect in the western mountains of Xingzi. I might find them if I search. What should I do? After pondering for a while, I determined where to spend the remaining 2+ years. Let's head to the mainland. I turned toward Xingzi. Though Co Ran said the barrier would be safe, it's an unpredictable situation after all. Considering the possibility of losing my life unexpectedly, gathering more information is prudent. Whoosh. As I activate summoning wind, dragon transformation again, my inner core responds, releasing energy. Wind swirls around me, lifting me into the air. I fly north from the Black Wind Sea towards Xingzi. Xingzi is a nation governed by numerous cultivator clans. Because of this, there are many regulations set by these clans that are deeply rooted throughout the country. I found myself caught in one of these numerous rules. In the western capital city of Xingzi, near the western mountains, I was surrounded by several high-level qi refining cultivators in a certain clan's territory. Flying is prohibited? What do you mean? Humph. Didn't you know the laws of Xingzi when you came here? Is that even possible? In various parts of the country, flying is prohibited to prevent large-scale battles among the members of different cultivator clans. Since you violated the rules, you must immediately pay a fine of 100 spirit stones. I asked the stern-looking green-robed man. According to my knowledge, the place where I flew was slightly outside the territory of your clan. Do I still have to pay the fine? What are you talking about? The place where you flew was clearly above our clan's territory. If you don't pay the spirit stones, you will have to serve time in our clan's prison. This is preposterous. It's not that I'm completely ignorant of the laws of Shengzi. I've been here in a previous life, so how could I not know? It's true that there are no-fly zones, but the place where I flew was just outside one of these zones. However, this green-robed man is now trying to unfairly impose a fine on me, taking advantage of the fact that I'm a foreigner. I don't have any spirit stones on me right now. Not even the common storage devices that cultivators carry. What should I do? After pondering for a moment, I ask him, what if I can't pay right now but promise to leave it at the front of my clan? Your clan. At my words, the green-robed man and the other cultivators looked at each other. Aren't you a loose cultivator? No, I belong to a clan. Which clan is it? I smile and introduce my clan. The Mockley clan. Silence fell among the crowd at my words. What nonsense. Cultivators of the Mockley clan all wear blue robes, don't they? I had no choice but to come to Shengzi secretly. Secretly? What business does someone from the Mockley clan have in Shengzi? To come in secret? I cannot say. It's a clan secret after all. This guy? The more I look, the more suspicious he seems. Pretending to be from the Mockley clan, huh? Pretending. I chuckle lightly. Do you still think it's pretending after seeing this? Rumble. I activate summoning wind, dragon transformation, gathering the wind around me. I am indeed an elder of the Mockley clan. Whoosh. A whirlwind blows around, sweeping up the green-robed cultivators. This guy? He's attacking us. That's indeed a technique of the Mockley clan. This scoundrel from the Mockley clan is attacking us. Those cultivators, maybe because they were law enforcers of Shengzi, managed to withstand the wind of summoning wind, dragon transformation with their high-level chi refining skills. They even showed signs of counterattacking with other spells. However, this is all a deception. Whoosh. While the whirlwind covers the surroundings and obscures vision, I release a gang sphere from my palm. The gang sphere spins and splits into 3, hovering above my hand. Listen well, I am Mockley Hyun, elder of the Mockley clan. Do not block my path. Whoosh. Amidst the dusty wind obscuring everyone's vision, the 3 gang spheres fly towards the green-robed cultivators at the speed of light. Boom, boom, boom. The gang spheres strike the cultivators' defensive spells and magic artifacts, causing great shock, but not killing them. This power. He's a chi-building cultivator, an elder. One of the green-robed cultivators hastily infuses spiritual power into a talisman. Facing the talisman that seems to transmit messages, the green-robed cultivator yells with a pale face. An elder of the chi-building stage from the Mockley clan has infiltrated Shengzi across the border. The Mockley clan of Yanghua has violated the treaty. Boom. Using the wind, I shake off the cultivators and quickly fly towards the western mountains. Treaty violation. The cultivator clans of Shengzi will formally protest against the Mockley clan. Let them protest. I leave the yelling green-robed cultivators behind and fly through the sky. The western mountains are close. Once I get inside, they won't be able to catch me easily. A protest against the Mockley clan is none of my concern. Flash. Flash, flash. Whether it was the effect of the green-robed cultivator's message talisman or not, I saw green lights below starting to chase after me. Those chi-refining cultivators of the clan began to gather below me, forming an unusual formation. From the looks of the formation, it isn't an easy one to deal with. A formation for chi-building cultivators? I pretended to be a chi-building cultivator using the strength of the ultimate pinnacle, but I am only at the extreme level of chi refining. Getting caught in the formation would be troublesome. I can't get caught. Whoosh. Gang chi escapes from my palm. The gang chi splits into 3 and is then reabsorbed into me. Triple acceleration. Flash. My consciousness, transformed into the form of a sea dragon, becomes even more akin a sea dragon, and the wind of summoning wind, dragon transformation becomes even stronger. Flash. Wrapped in stronger winds, I fly even faster towards the western mountains. Soon, I'm out of the range of the formation set by the chi-refining cultivators. Are the western mountains ahead? I take in the sight of the western mountains, preparing to hide. At that moment, rumble. A fearsome presence is felt from behind. That is, a tingling sensation in my limbs. A chi-building cultivator. Still a dot in the distance, but I know how quickly it will approach. TCH, I need to push it a bit. Rumble. I increase the wind speed. The whirlwind surrounding me grows larger, showing its ferocity that connects the sky and the earth. Drip. Blood drips from my mouth. But I ignore it and expand summoning wind, dragon transformation even more. The whirlwind of a chi-building cultivator. A huge dragon's ascension absorbs the surrounding dirt and dust, clouding the area. Puff. I break out of the dragon's ascension and form a hand seal. Rumble. The whirlwind moves. The ashen whirlwind flies towards the chasing chi-building and green-robed cultivators. The chi-building cultivator is startled and quickly casts a spell to counterattack. I wipe the blood from my mouth, concentrating my consciousness. I had excessively forced out spiritual power equivalent to chi building at the level of chi refining. Such an attack can only be used once, and using the gang sphere might wrongly implicate Kim Young-hoon, who is active in Yanghua. So, I will create a disturbance with this attack, and then escape. Swoosh. My sword energy cuts through the air, and my consciousness vanish, concealed by the hidden consciousness technique. Flash. I quickly descend towards the western mountains, forming a hand seal. Earth-surpassing path. Rumble. The earth opens up to receive me. I fall into the ground beneath the western mountains using the earth-surpassing path. The earth's spiritual energy flowing through the western mountains will maximize my earth-surpassing path. Moreover, arg. This scum from the Mockley clan. Everyone, chase after him. If he's from the Mockley clan, he must have fled into the sky. Their prejudice against the Mockley clan didn't apply to me hiding underground. I hide beneath the ground, watching the chi-building cultivator from the green-robed clan destroy my whirlwind and fly off into the wrong direction in the sky, and wipe off the remaining blood from my mouth. Now, let's go find the records of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. A few months later, I found the archive at Shattered Heaven Peak in the Western Mountains, where Jean Byakho mentioned the records of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect were located. Indeed, what is the relationship between the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect and the Ascension Gate? Creak. I open the door of the archive and enter. Translator notes. Chapter donated by KittyFin69 and Asylums. Thanks for the support. Chapter 66, Violent Storm, 6. Translating Novice. The interior of the archive is dim and murky. At the same time, the area is permeated with a formation that blurs the senses, making it hard to distinguish where anything was. If it weren't for the clues given to me by Jean Byakho, I might not have been able to find the archive of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect in just a few months. I extend my consciousness, carefully navigating the structure of the archive while avoiding the interference of the formation. After a while, I enter the archive and walk towards the section where the books are kept. TSK, there's hardly anything left. I click my tongue in disappointment. Perhaps because the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect ascended to the higher realms and took all the important items from the sect with them, there were only a few books left in the archive. Let's see the record about the founder of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, Ancestor Yang Su-jin. Fortunately, what I was looking for was still there, and I started reading the book without hesitation. The book detailed the life of Yang Su-jin, the founding ancestor of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. It was not much different from what I had read in the Royal Archive of Shengzi. There were minor specific details and differences, but the broader aspects were, as I already knew. Of course, there were some shockingly accurate details described. He ascended to the higher realms and really tore through the void to descend back to this world. The book detailed the years when Yang Su-jin ascended and returned. According to the book, it took roughly 3,000 years for him to ascend and then come back. 3,000 years. It seems short compared to the history of 120,000 years, but even mankind's calendar on Earth is roughly only 2,000 years old. What concept of time can 3,000 years represent? In any case, it's confirmed that Yang Su-jin is the cause behind the Ascension Gate. The book explicitly stated that the Ascension Gate was established by our founding patriarch. Of course, the space where the Ascension Gate opened was originally prone to spatial rifts and instability. It was said that never before had such a clear pathway to the higher realms been created. I want to read more about the Ascension Gate, but it seems the rest is just about how he established the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect and governed the sect. I felt a bit disappointed and turned the page. As I reached the end of the book, I furrow my brows. Yang Su-jin disappeared in his later years? I was surprised to find such a bold statement in the sect's archive, declaring that their founding patriarch had gone missing. It's more credible than a book of wild conjectures, but still. Missing? A cultivator who achieved the heavenly being stage and ascended. After reaching much higher realms and tearing through the void to descend, he just went missing? I flip through the book but find only statements about how the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect had searched the entire continent and seas, but couldn't find anything about their founding patriarch. I closed the book and picked up another one. This book detailed the lineage of the sect's leaders and their relationships. I scanned it quickly, hoping to find something useful, but found nothing and closed it, moving on to the next book. The next was not useful either, containing the wills and sayings of past sect leaders. As I thought, they took all the important and secret documents and left only what others could see. Feeling slightly irritated, I still hoped to find something useful and kept turning the pages. The collection of wills of the past leaders of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect? What use do I have for this? Suddenly, while flipping through the book, I pause. Although Yang Su-jin had disappeared without leaving a will, his last words before disappearing were recorded in the book. There is no place like home. Do the disciples of the sect have a home in their hearts? Home. It was part of a speech he had given before disappearing. My eyes are drawn to the first sentence of the speech. There is no place like home. I shift my gaze to the last sentence. People all have a home in their hearts. We must all strive to reach that home in our hearts. To reach the home in our hearts. A few days later, Yang Sujin was recorded as having disappeared. When to find his home? I ponder over these lines for a while, then close the book. My mind is filled with thoughts. With mixed feelings, I picked up the next book. The book was similar to the previous book, but contained a collection of teachings and warnings left by the leaders for future generations. I read a warning left by Yang Sujin for future generations. Future generations must read the stele erected by the founding master in front of the void gate before attempting to ascend to the higher realms. This is a crucial rule that must be followed by all future ascendants of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. Remember, always remember. The void gate, mentioned here, seems to refer to the ascension gate. The stele in front of the ascension gate. It was a stele inscribed with thunderclouds, floating in the void, absorbing lightning, with the words, "Leave something behind for future generations and ascend with a calm heart. Those who do not abide by this will face disaster." But the part about what exactly to leave behind was damaged, so its full meaning remained unknown. I clicked my tongue lightly, guessing that Yang Sujin's warning had likely not been heeded. It seems it was prepared for future generations, but now that the entire sect has ascended to the higher realms, it probably doesn't matter anymore. After all, it was an event from 120,000 years ago, difficult to maintain till now. The original purpose of the stele remains unknown, but it seems to have served its purpose. After reading the book, I turn my attention to the next one. This book is the last. Perhaps because the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect took everything necessary, there were no more books in the archive. I picked up the last book and read it. Surprisingly, the last book contained a unique technique of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. This technique, called Lightning Predicting Eye, is an eye technique relying on the sense of reading celestial energy to predict tomorrow's weather and where and how lightning will strike. How am I supposed to use this? It seems the sect themselves deemed this book useless and left it behind. Predicting the weather is something cultivators, even demon beasts, could do. With the demon race's senses of earth, one could predict lightning strikes without the need for lightning predicting eye. Sensitive cultivators could even calculate the location of lightning strikes based on the flow of spiritual energy. No, wait. This technique seems designed for the slightly less spiritually sensitive cultivators to calculate the location of lightning strikes based on the flow of spiritual energy. A vague technique created specifically for lower-level cultivators. I skimmed through the book quickly, storing it in my mind. Can't say if it'll be of any use. How often does one encounter lightning in life anyway? Those powerful enough to predict and avoid lightning would defend themselves with their own abilities. For those too weak, needing the use of the technique, it would be of no use anyway. I close the last book and look around the archive again. As expected, nothing else is left. I came here thinking it would take years to find what I need. But I had read all the books in the archive in less than a day. There were hardly more than 10 books in total. So much for gaining any knowledge. I didn't learn anything new about the Ascension Gate, just some strange and unsettling conjectures about Yang Sujin. I leave the archive and explore the area around Shattered Heaven Peak. There were traces of the massive sect and many cultivators' lives, but Shattered Heaven Peak was now empty. Where buildings might have stood, only traces remained, not even foundation stones. It seems the entire sect, including the buildings, had ascended to the higher realms. There was nothing more to see. Sigh. I sat down where a building once stood at the edge of Shattered Heaven Peak. Maybe I should just go back to Seoran. I had originally come to the Western Mountains to investigate the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect for the remaining 2 years. I didn't expect to finish so quickly without much to show for it. Lost in thought, I suddenly noticed the spiritual energy at the peak is incredibly dense. Thinking about it, it makes sense. This was the site of a large sect. The spiritual energy is several times denser than at the main house of the Chongmun clan. There's no need to hurry back to Seo Ran's place, given such a great training ground. After all, I came here because Seo Ran said it would take him 3 years to prepare. If I go back now, I'd just be training anyway. So why not train here, where the spiritual energy is denser than at Seo Ran's place? Yes, this place seems more conducive for trying to ascend to Qi building. I move my recovered Qi refining 14th star spiritual power, sensing the spiritual clouds swirling in my dantian. The decision is quick. I enter a cave likely used by the disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, find a spot, and sit down cross-legged. I spent the previous year learning the summoning wind, dragon transformation method. Now, for the remaining time, I should try to reach the Qi building stage and see if I have any chance of achieving it. The spiritual cloud in my dantian began to move. Ascending to the Qi building stage involves condensing the spiritual cloud into a single spiritual star. The spiritual energy must be condensed into the form of a star to truly ascend to the Qi building stage. The spiritual cloud gradually began to rotate, and under my will, started to converge into a single point. Rumble. The spiritual cloud gathered towards the center of my dantian. As it concentrated, it compressed to form a star. Crunch. Driven by my willpower, the spiritual cloud compressed, and the temperature at its core rose. At the same time, the fluffy spiritual mist began to merge with each other. Once the fusion of the spiritual cloud inside the dantian is complete and a stable star is born, I can ascend to the Qi building stage. However, cracks began to form in the star. Exclamation point. Flash. Suddenly, there was a flash in the dantian, and the forming star exploded. Boom. Arg. I exert all my strength to prevent damage to my dantian. Thanks to that, the energy of my inner core became refined once again, but my face contorted in pain. This attempt failed too. I needed to capture and stabilize the slight changes occurring at the moment of the star's birth. Possessing the 5 elements spiritual roots, my spiritual power is too chaotic, making it difficult to grasp all the slight changes. There were too many changes to catch them all. Sigh. I sigh and examine the state of my dantian. The spiritual cloud was completely consumed, and my level fell back to the completed 12th star Qi refining. It's frustrating. Using Qi building pills would greatly reduce the difficulty of reaching the Qi building stage. The pure life force in the Qi building pills injects vitality into the spiritual star, significantly stabilizing it. However, knowing what the life force in the pills is made of makes me reluctant to use them. No, it's more than reluctance. It's something that, as a human, I should not consume. As this thought sank in, I let out a wry laugh, realizing the path I am attempting. Attempting to reach the Qi building stage without Qi building pills, despite having the 5 elements spiritual roots, is madness. Except for those with heavenly spiritual roots, which cultivator wouldn't use Qi building pills to ascend. The more spiritual roots one has, the more subtle changes accompany the birth of the spiritual star. Even those with true spiritual roots often take Qi building pills due to the crazing shaking of their spiritual star due to the slight changes. For every inferior spiritual root, the number of accompanying changes increases by a square. As someone with 5-element spiritual roots, I need to control 4 times more changes than someone with true spiritual roots. Damn it, I clench my fists in frustration. This is why I even learned demon beast methods like summoning wind, dragon transformation, to try and find another way. However, after learning demon beast methods, I realized that they had no relation to the Qi building process. They don't affect each other. Like oil and water, the 2 energies flow separately. Even though other realizations might bring some connection, currently, they seem unrelated. No choice then. The only consolation was that every attempt at Qi building, despite resulting in explosions, refined the energy in my inner core. I sigh and begin to cultivate to reach the 14th star of Qi refining again. Months passed. I tried again and again to ascend to the Qi building stage. Numerous explosions occurred in my dantian, and I experienced excruciating pain each time. The advantage of being in a region dense with spiritual energy was that, with enough understanding of the stages, I could recover my cultivation from the 12th star to the 13th and 14th star of Qi refining fairly quickly and attempt Qi building multiple times. Whoosh. The number of changes occurring in the spiritual star easily exceeded tens of thousands. If I could stabilize all these changes and maintain the fusion of the spiritual cloud, a spiritual star would be born. That is the Qi building stage. However, I was overwhelmed just trying to track these daunting changes, let alone catch them all. I had to catch and understand every minute and faint change of spiritual power that's equivalent or smaller than a grain of sand, stabilize them, and then base the fusion of the spiritual cloud on that to create the spiritual star. Damn, it's too difficult. Even when using Gang Sphere to quadruple the speed of my thoughts, I barely managed to observe the transformations without missing them. The only hope seems to be increasing the number of Gang Spheres to further accelerate thought. My consciousness had grown to the extreme level of Qi refining and had become almost as vast as it would be in the Qi building stage. The larger the consciousness, the more pronounced the acceleration of mental facilities. Even more so than Kim Young-hoon, who hasn't practiced cultivation. Maybe, if I can handle 9 Gang Spheres like Kim Hyung, there might be some hope. Boom. The fusion of the spiritual cloud failed again, and an explosion occurred, causing pain in my dantian. Cough. I spit out a mouthful of blood and manage my internal injuries with internal energy. Another failure. With each failure, I find myself focusing more on accelerating thought through the realm of martial arts. And again, I begin to think about the demon beast methods. Martial arts are certainly similar to the methods of the demon race. Of course, they're just similar. They are fundamentally different. Like the wings of insects and birds, two completely different creatures that have simply undergone convergent evolution. But certainly, the results they produced are similar. So, they can be referenced. Demon-beast methods and cultivation methods are completely unrelated. However, for someone without innate talent to attempt to leap to the next stage, a synergy with martial arts is necessary. And martial arts resemble demon-beast methods. Whoosh. A gang sphere emerges from my heart. I invoke the earth sensation that the demons feel. Now familiar with the demon's sensations, invoking them only causes a slight headache. It is no longer painful. This is similar to when I first perceived intent. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The circulation of yin and yang and taiji in heaven and earth enter my sight. I can see, or rather feel, the taiji circulating everywhere in heaven and earth. All the celestial energy is constantly circulating, with yin and yang rotating. I succeeded in manipulating 3 gang spheres by interpreting the yin and yang of heaven and earth, and the changes arising from yin and yang from the aspect of man. Whoosh. Just like the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the gang sphere splits into heaven and earth, and between yin and yang, life is born, symbolizing man with the gang sphere. What exactly must be realized to control 9 gang spheres? I recall the ultimate pinnacle that the Kim Young-hoons of my past lives had reached. When I knew nothing, I just admired it as something incredible. I never had the luxury to think about the principle behind it. But now, having reached the stage of manipulating 3 gang spheres, I can't even begin to fathom how it was done. Furthermore, Kim Young-hoon hadn't awakened demon senses through advice like me. Did he just naturally grasp the principle of the 3 talents within the gang spheres and control 9 of them? Looking at it again, it is truly an insane talent. But I refocus my thoughts. Talent is just the quality of realizing quickly. If I can understand what was realized, I too can follow in his footsteps. I've decided. I take a deep breath, concentrate on the unified origin of spiritual power, and stand up with my chi refining 13th star cultivation. I shouldn't waste time here. I need to go to Kim Hyung. I plan to formally teach him the demon senses, explain the summoning wind, dragon transformation to him, and help him gain inspiration. I leave the stone cave of Shattered Heaven Peak, kick off the ground, and race towards Yanghua. To meet Kim Young-hoon in Yanghua, I used the same means as last time through the Jin clan. After contacting Kim Young-hoon, he rushed to me in a day. Haha, how long has it been? It's been a while. You've advanced further again in the meantime. Since our last meeting, Kim Young-hoon had completely destroyed the Mokli dynasty in collaboration with the Jin clan. Yeah, thanks to you, I succeeded in reaching the ultimate pinnacle. I made a name for myself too. But what do you mean by again? He welcomed me, but suddenly sensing something off in my words, he asked. I was startled by his question, but quickly composed myself and answered. Kim Hyung was a department head, and now you've risen even higher in this world. Haha. Yuahaha. A middle manager in a mid-sized company. What are you talking about? Haha. I control my thoughts and inwardly break out in a cold sweat. I unconsciously got a bit confused with my past life. As memories accumulate, I sometimes get confused like this. Anyway, I refine my intent and question. Have you improved your skills a bit? I ask him with a playful expression. I never thought I'd ask such a question in my life. Instead of answering, Kim Young-hoon suddenly extends his intent towards me. I, too, smile and extend my intent in response. Flash. Light explodes. The sound around us vanishes. In the quiet void, we collide in an instant. Let's start. 2x acceleration. Boom. I dive into Kim Young-hoon's embrace and thrust an attack onto him. However, Kim Young-hoon instantly reacts, repelling my attack and launching a counterattack. Has he realized acceleration? Then, let's see how much he has grown. Boom. I meet him in combat, gradually increasing my speed. If I fundamentally value technique, Kim Young-hoon values speed. Therefore, my Severing Mountain swordsmanship usually focuses on precise techniques, and his Severing Vein Saber method is quick and agile. 3x acceleration. Entering acceleration using 2 gang spheres. Kim Young-hoon also manages to keep up with ease. Dozens of clashes occur in a moment. The surroundings become chaotic, not due to gang chi, but due to simple shockwaves from our clashes. I gradually increase my speed even further. But that was it. From then on, Kim Young-hoon only confronts my attacks with his innate instincts. His speed did not increase further. As a person who specializes in speed, when he lost that advantage, I began to see his weaknesses. In the midst of dozens of clashes. Crash. Eventually, I managed to penetrate his defense and successfully plant a palm strike on his chest. Cough. Ack. Kim Young-hoon chokes and spins in the air before falling. Really, your growth rate is astounding. I had somewhat anticipated that he would reach the ultimate pinnacle in such a short time. But to already be handling 2 gang spheres. Whoosh. Kim Young-hoon laughs, emitting gang sphere from his consciousness, and his gang sphere begins to split into 2 and rotate. Haha. In a few years, he'll surpass you too. Be prepared. Of course you should. But how exactly did you split the gang sphere, Kim Hyung? Kim Young-hoon looks puzzled at my question. Aren't you splitting it too? It seems to me that Kim Hyung and I have not attained the same realization. What do you mean? Although everyone's way of obtaining enlightenment in martial arts differs, are you saying the enlightenment itself is different? I too float a gang sphere and split it into 2, just like him. Then, with demon senses, I rotate the gang sphere in perfect sync with the circulation of yin and yang of spiritual energy. If he had obtained the same realization as me, there's no way he wouldn't recognize this rotation. However, Kim Young-hoon still looks confused. His expression seems to ask what I expect him to see from the rotating gang sphere. Seeing his expression, I become even more curious. What principle did he use to split the gang sphere? Kim Hyung, please tell me, what enlightenment did you achieve? Chapter 67, Violent Storm, 7. Translating Novice. What enlightenment, you ask? Now that I think about it, reaching the ultimate pinnacle is bound to be unique to you and me anyway, so it's hard to put into words. He seemed puzzled for a moment, then floated the gang spheres on his palm and continued. The 2 gang spheres were endlessly circling each other above his hand. First, like you, I infused the gang sphere with myself, right? Yes, that's correct. Right. By infusing another part of my consciousness into it, the gang sphere appears almost like an avatar in the world of intent. It's possible to absorb the gang sphere to accelerate thought. You must know this too, since you've split the gang sphere. But a person is not made up solely of themselves. I'm the same up to this point. But from Kim Young-hoon's next explanation, the differences between us began to emerge. A person is completed within relationships with others. Then, the enlightenment of the gang sphere must start from the concept of relationships. What is the most precious and valuable relationship to a human? Whoosh. The gang spheres on his hand vibrate. Somehow, I felt as if I could hear a heartbeat from the radiance of those spheres. Parents. There was an indescribable nostalgia on his face as he spoke. The most direct cause that brought me into the world. I was born because of my father and mother. I received life from them. I am not just made of myself, but also of my parents. Whoosh. As he verbalized his realization, he seemed to gain something more. Was it from our battle, or from observing the 3 gang spheres still floating above my hand? The gang sphere of this martial deity began to change as well. My mother and father met, and they had me. Boom. As the 2 gang spheres rotate, a third one begins to emerge within their rotation. As I live my life, I met my wife, and will see my children, maybe even grandchildren. Among the countless relationships and connections I'll encounter in life, the most precious ones constitute what I am. Oh, I see. I interpreted the gang sphere through the principle of the 3 talents. Having worshipped the heavens and learned the demon senses, the presence of heaven and earth is very clear to me. But Kim Young-hoon's principle seems to be family. Time and time again, whenever Kim Young-hoon reached the ultimate pinnacle, he almost always handled 9 gang spheres. Maybe it was because he kept thinking of his loved and missed ones. Crack. 3 gang spheres. An amazing achievement and realization. But Kim Young-hoon clenches his fist, dissolving the gang spheres, and presses his fist to his chest. Such martial arts are unnecessary. I just want to see my family again. We both disperse our gang spheres and stand silently for a while. Both of us are lost in thought for a moment. After a while, Kim Young-hoon lightens the mood with a bitter smile. Enough of this. What's the use of talking about it here? Sorry, let's talk about martial arts instead. He smiles faintly and floats the gang sphere again. Anyway, I realized that I was constantly interacting with the most important relationships in my life. Then, I thought that the gang sphere and intent could also be divided within endless interaction and circulation. Endless circulation. That was the principle I found. Is that so? I too came out of my thoughts and listened intently to his story. Endless circulation. This concept also resonates in the world of Taiji I observed. After all, the yin and yang of the world are constantly circulating and interacting. Although the direction of our enlightenment was different, there is a common ground. He focused on the circulation of intent. I focused on the Taiji of spiritual energy. But even though there was a common point, our realizations are distinctly different. Then, perhaps our enlightenments could complement each other? Kim Hyung. Now, let me share my enlightenment with you. First, focus your mind and visualize the movement of yin and yang in your heart. Done. In that state, completely forget the flow of intent and concentrate on the flow of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. I slowly taught Kim Young-hoon the sensation of Taiji, the sensation of the demon race, and after a while, Kim Young-hoon's eyes widened. He too entered the same vision as me. The yin and yang flowing throughout heaven and earth. The endlessly circulating power. And the taiji, which is distorted and strangely transformed by the reaction of matter. Heaven and earth. And man. Fascinated by the new landscape of all things containing the three principles, Kim Young-hoon gazed vacantly into space for a while as if he had lost his soul. Kim Hyung, are you all right? I asked him, seeing that he continued to stare blankly into space. Normally, if one had just awakened to a new sensation, their head would feel as if it was about to split apart in pain. However, Kim Young-hoon just blankly nodded his head. Even after awakening to a new sensation, he feels no pain? His potential is indeed different from mine. It seems he already had some talent for this sensation. As Kim Young-hoon continued to look into space, 3 gang spheres naturally float around him. Whoosh! The 3 gang spheres begin to rotate. They have stabilized completely. When he first created the 3rd gang sphere, it was quite unstable. But at this moment, all signs of instability disappeared, and 3 stable gang spheres were just rotating around him. There is even a hint that the gang spheres might split again. It seems like any moment now, the gang spheres could split into 4, 5, or 6. But then, Kim Young-hoon seemed to come to his senses, panting as he dispersed the 3 gang spheres rotating around him. He looked extremely surprised. That's it. You realize the principles of heaven, earth, and man in the taiji of yin and yang, not in the circulation of intent. You got it right away? I still don't quite grasp what the circulation of intent is. After pondering for a while, Kim Young-hoon, looking at me, spoke. No, I don't think you need to worry about that. Yes. The day I first felt the circulation of intent, I vaguely sensed the limits of the gang sphere. It might not be precise, but the number of gang spheres a human can handle is probably between 8 to 10. That's probably the limit. Also, I felt that just deeply exploring the circulation of intent is enough to reach its end. So, you too, if you continuously delve into that taiji sensation you realized, you should be able to reach the end as well. He reaches out towards the circulating taiji in the sky while invoking the sensation of the earth. Of course, it isn't tangible, so he can't grasp anything. 8 to 10 is the human limit. Even if we share our enlightenment, it's not like the number of gang spheres will multiply to 81 or something. Even if we have more enlightenment, it's not as if the gang spheres will become stronger. How do you know that? You haven't reached that stage yet, Kim Hyung. Such facts are not recorded in the record of surpassing path in martial arts. It's the intuition of a genius. I have nothing to say, but since Kim Young-hoon has never been wrong about martial arts, he's probably right. Every cycle, Kim Hyung's gang sphere count ended at 9 because that is the limit of humans. The limit of humans. Hearing that made me feel a bit regretful. That meant the end of a martial artist is in the chi building stage. It's a bit disappointing as a martial artist. Anyway, thank you for the great enlightenment. Based on this, I will grow even faster. What you taught me will bring tremendous inspiration. Inspiration, the end of a martial artist. Kim Young-hoon's words, and a bit of stubbornness. I felt these rising in my heart. Kim Hyung, if you have inspiration, can you surpass the record of surpassing path in martial arts? He frowns. We had talked about the record of surpassing path in martial arts when we first met and shared stories for several days. Kim Young-hoon, who heard my claim that someone had implanted martial arts in my mind, said he had experienced something similar, and we discussed the record of surpassing path in martial arts. And now, I was asking him this question. Throughout my life, I have experienced many things and thought about the record of surpassing path in martial arts. I wondered if it's impossible to surpass its secrets, to go beyond the ultimate pinnacle. I traveled around, met the demon race, and learned the sensation of taiji I just showed you from them. As a result, I came to think that human martial arts were derived from those of the demon race. If you wish, Kim Hyung, I can teach you the demon beast methods I learned and help you research them. My words continue. If I provide you with the enlightenment and information I've gained from my travels, can you surpass the record of surpassing path in martial arts? The record of surpassing path in martial arts. This martial arts scripture, originally known as the record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts, hadn't changed its framework, but had only added experiences of trial and error. Could Kim Young-hoon in this life surpass this record of surpassing path in martial arts? From record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts to record of gazing cultivation and exceeding martial arts, and then to record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts. After 3 major evolutions, could it evolve once more from the record of surpassing path and martial arts, which had only added trial and error? Kim Young-hoon seems to ponder my question for a while. I can't promise anything, but his eyes shine brightly. If, as you say, human martial arts originated from demons, researching the original demon beast methods would be of great help and would significantly reduce trial and error. Is that so? Reducing trial and error. Maybe that would be enough. In that case, I will also teach you the details of summoning wind, dragon transformation, and the general characteristics of the demon race's abilities. From that day, I spent the remaining time teaching Kim Young-hoon the aspects of the summoning wind, dragon transformation, and the demon race's techniques. It was time. Time to keep my promise with Seo Ran. Kim Hyung, is there anything you don't understand? No. I've understood everything about the methods, and I will research them to the best of my ability. Understood. I believe in you, Kim Hyung. Kim Young-hoon, after observing the demon beast methods and awakening to their senses, increased the number of gang spheres much faster. Currently, he has a total of 7 gang spheres. He is almost reaching his past life's level. Following Kim Hyung's martial path and raising my martial arts to the extreme of the ultimate pinnacle. Through accelerating thought more than tenfold, I will challenge chi building. Thus, I wished for Kim Young-hoon to rise even faster, even higher. We wished each other good fortune in our martial pursuits and parted ways. Swoosh. I flew towards Seo Ran's residence. It seems he was waiting for me, as Seo Ran immediately showed his head from the sea and greeted me. Come on up. I've been waiting. Where is this barrier you mentioned? Seo Hyung. Let's head towards the barrier, and I'll explain on the way. All right. Climb onto my neck. The sea area we are heading to has fierce storms, so it's better to hold on tight. Yes. I climb onto Seo Ran's neck and hold on. The barrier I speak of is something even the king secretly asked me to enter. There's something important to our sea dragon tribe inside. What exactly is surrounded by the barrier? Swoosh. He cuts through the water, swiftly swimming towards a particular spot in the ocean. In the distance, I begin to see where the currents change dramatically. They seem to have an eerie, ghostly energy. Far away, dark clouds rumble, darkening the sea. A discarded divine object from the Blackbone Valley among the cultivation sects of the human race. Rumble. Huge waves are crashing in the distance. A battleship said to be able to cross even the realm of the dead. The Nether Crossing ship. We enter the stormy sea area. Chapter 68, Eve 1. Translating Novice. After passing under dark clouds and navigating the sea for several hours, something came into view for me and Seo Ran. Is that a barrier? It's not visible to the naked eye. It looks just like any other part of the ocean with waves crashing, nothing unusual. However, when viewed through the perception of the demon race, sensing the flow of yin and yang, the currents in that distant part of the ocean were strangely twisted, unlike the surroundings. Is that the barrier? No, that's just an illusionary barrier. Of course, the formation masters of Black Ghost Valley twisted the space, so if you enter that area, you come out on the opposite side. But I've long since figured out how to break through that. There are several more layers of barriers inside, and we need to break through all of them to find what I want. Swoosh. Seo Ran burst into the sky with demonic power. Hold on tight. Flash. A jade-colored light emitted from Seo Ran's horn, coloring the surroundings. Boom. Simultaneously, I heard a massive sound of breaking air and defended against the shockwave with my protective gang chi. Swoosh. I felt us passing through an invisible flow of spiritual energy, and I gradually opened my eyes. This place is fog. A sea mist covered everything in sight. Instantly, I felt a chill run down my spine. No, it's not just mist. Terrifying yin energy. Gulp. Ghosts. Don't open your mouth. This is the second barrier. If the sound of a living human echoes, those things will swarm you. I am from the Sea Dragon tribe, and we can handle the power of yin, so they won't attack me. That's why I'm safe, but you need to be as quiet as possible. I nodded in understanding. Seo Ran dived back into the water, surveying the surroundings. These are wandering ghosts released by Black Ghost Valley. With so many ghosts gathered and the barrier of Black Ghost Valley covering the area, storms always rage in these waters. Do ghosts bring storms? It made sense that spirits or ghosts, with their yin nature, would attract similar dark clouds. While I was lost in thought, holding on to Seo Ran's neck, I heard something. Aya, Kayahaha, Aya. As we moved forward with Seo Ran, the distant wailing of ghosts became louder. Don't worry. The deeper we go, the more unique ghosts affected by the Nether Crossing ship appear. Then it happened. It's a ghost. A very big ghost has entered the waters. Find it. Find the very big ghost. Rumble. The sea mist began to stir. What? This has never happened before. Seo Ran, in panic, moved quickly and quietly forward. Kayahawk. A big ghost has come to catch us all. Kayahawk. A ghost. Catch the very big ghost. The very big ghost has entered. The once merely hazy mist began to change. SSSHHH. The mist turned pitch black. At the same time, thousands, maybe millions of red lights appeared in the dark fog. What on earth is going on? Seo Ran swam even faster, perplexed. Rumble. The red lights in the black mist started flying towards us. Cough, hold on tight. We're going to fly up again. Demonic power burst out from Co Ran's body again. Co Huiol used to fly around at will, but it seems hard for Co Ran to do the same. Considering his large size, it was actually impressive how Co Huiol managed to fly as he wished. Swoosh! He leaped from the water into the air. I held on to Co Ran's mane, holding my breath as much as I could to avoid the eyes of the ghosts. After flying for some time, we're breaking through the second barrier. Swoosh! We broke through a water wall that suddenly appeared in front of us, soaking wet as we looked around. A gigantic water barrier. Hundreds of miles around us were devoid of water, defying gravity, as the seawater formed a giant well-like barrier. At the center of this well of seas, I saw a massive translucent barrier, big enough to cover dozens of miles. Inside the barrier, a powerful ship emitting ghostly energy was visible. You can talk now. Ghosts can't enter this part of the barrier. Phew, is that the Nether Crossing ship? Yes. Swoosh. Co Ran glided along the water barrier and descended to the bottom of the sea well. Get off now. From here on, there's nothing particularly dangerous for you. I got off Co Ran's neck and stepped on the air, approaching the barrier. As I got closer to the barrier, the details of the ship inside became clearer. The ship is terribly broken, barely maintaining its shape, and intense ghostly and energies emanated from within. The first barrier is to block mortals and ordinary animals. The second barrier of ghostly mist is to stop human cultivators. This last barrier is meant to stop demon beasts like me, Co Ran explained. Well, the earlier ghosts were sentient beings, causing unusual phenomenons, but this barrier isn't alive, so it won't cause any unpredictable situations. He lifted his tail and brought it close to the barrier. Then, crackle, bang, light exploded, and Co Ran retreated. His tail was covered in green ghost fire, which went out only after he concentrated his spiritual power. Being a member of the demon race, this is my reaction. But you, with human lineage, should be different. Try touching it. I cautiously approached the barrier, restraining my inner core's energy, and touched it. Crackle. With a tingling sensation, my hand went smoothly into the barrier. It really goes in. Yes, it's a barrier meant solely to stop demon beasts. I hesitated briefly before stepping into the barrier. Swoosh. My inner core area felt a bit sore, but I could pass through the barrier without much trouble. It was almost too easy to believe. Co Hyung, this seems too easy, right? For someone with human lineage like you, it would be easy. Now, to let me in, you just need to pull out all 8 flags near the Nether Crossing ship that are keeping the barrier active. Co Ran points with his claw towards where a flag with a ghost face drawn on it is planted. There is a total of 8 such flags around the ship, standing firmly on the water. I quickly move around the ship, pulling out all 8 flags. Then, the barrier surrounding the Nether Crossing ship loses its light, and Co Ran approaches me. It's quite easy, isn't it? Well, up to here, it definitely is easy. After all, it's a discarded divine object. It's just an old relic with no value other than its symbolic significance as a divine object. Black Ghost Valley wouldn't have set such an extensive protection for it. He clicked his tongue as he continued. Actually, it was much more annoying than before. If you entered the mist barrier before reaching here, the ghost would signal Black Ghost Valley. Then Black Ghost Valley would send core formation cultivators to hunt down demon beasts like me. Even if someone managed to get this far, Black Ghost Valley usually had several chi-building disciples stationed here to hunt. But now that Black Ghost Valley has completely vanished to the higher realm, it'd be strange if the difficulty is higher. I see. Anyway, the real challenge begins after entering inside. Help me find something inside. Sure. It seems that rather than the barrier, Black Ghost Valley had relied on people to guard the place. Now that those guards had ascended to the higher realm, it was like easily jumping over a low wall. By the way, even if it's a discarded divine object, considering they protected it with such a huge barrier and had inner disciples guarding it, it must have been quite a significant object. What happened to it? I ask as we approach the ship. The ship is half destroyed, with one side completely shattered. There are a few intact parts, but not many. It was damaged in a war among human cultivators. What kind of war was it? You probably wouldn't know since it happened before you were born. There was a human cultivator known as the Mad Lord. I don't know the details, but one day, the Mad Lord suddenly caused a commotion, wanting to take one of the components inside the Nether Crossing ship. Black Ghost Valley naturally ignored him, calling him insane. But due to the Mad Lord's uproar, 2 heavenly being elders of Black Ghost Valley were killed. In response, Black Ghost Valley went mad as well and mobilized all their power to capture the Mad Lord. The Mad Lord didn't flee but waged war against Black Ghost Valley alone. As a result, 3 of Black Ghost Valley's only 3 Nether Crossing ships were destroyed, and a third of Black Ghost Valley was annihilated. Eventually, the Mad Lord indeed smashed one Nether Crossing ship, entered inside, and took away the core component. No one from Black Ghost Valley could stop that crazy cultivator. What in the world is this terrifying battle record? If it's the Mad Lord, then that hunchback old man. Does he really possess such unimaginable power? After all, if he's just a madman, then other cultivators at the Heavenly Being stage. Even the usually composed Sea Dragon King shuddered at the mention of his title, showing a clear distaste. The fear and disgust must be because the madman possesses such unbelievable power. Before fighting the Mad Lord, Black Ghost Valley used to roam the seas on 3 nether-crossing ships, flaunting their terrifying might. But after the war with the Mad Lord, they were stuck to one sea area, staying quiet. Thinking about it, many demon tribes living in the sea held quite positive feelings about that event. Was there some resentment towards Black Ghost Valley? Co. Rand smiled contentedly as we ascended to the deck of the nether-crossing ship. The ship was made of some incredibly sturdy and glossy material. A considerable amount of and ghostly energy was emanating from the deck. Let's go inside. Co. Rand opened the door leading inside the ship from the deck. Whoosh. I was stunned as I looked inside. Just opening the door released an overwhelming amount of and ghost energy. The interior was completely shrouded in darkness, obscuring everything from view. Co. Rand became a bit tense too, stiffening up at the door. But Co. Hyung, it seems a bit cramped inside for you to enter. Don't worry about that. Let's just go in. Swoosh. As he spoke, Co. Rand stepped into the darkness. I followed him, tensely entering after him. Whoosh. Then, I witnessed an astonishing sight. It's bigger inside than outside. A colossal space. A passageway thousands of times larger than what it appears from the outside is before me. Co. Rand turns to me and said, Black Ghost Valley used to rule the entire sea with 3 nether-crossing ships. The reason they could do so was because each nether-crossing ship itself was a divine object with an unbelievably huge compressed space. The nether-crossing ship is almost the same as Black Ghost Valley's main base. In fact, their main base, Gui Valley, was merely a port for docking the nether-crossing ship. So, it's more accurate to say that the nether-crossing ships are Black Ghost Valley. Wow, I was overwhelmed by the sheer size and lost my words for a moment. I heard it was an artifact created by mimicking the immortal treasures of true immortals by one of the talented artisans of the times. Whether it's true or not, I'm not sure. We continued walking. Passing through the vast corridor, we arrived at a large cavern. In various places, there were statues of ghosts strewn about, and sizable wooden buildings situated here and there. Can you check all the rooms and buildings inside the ship to see if there's anything emitting this kind of energy? Whoom. When Co. Rand extended his paw, a bead the size of a fingernail, emanating the energy of the Sea Dragon tribe, floated up. Remember not only the shape, but also the energy. If you find an object emitting this energy, tell me right away. Understood. Shall we go in and look? I remembered the energy he emitted and took a look at a pavilion 4 or 5 stories high. But to think that such a gigantic space, still with plenty of room left, is compressed into just one ship. Is this what qualifies as a divine object of a great cultivation sect? Just when I was looking around. Step. Whoosh. Something flew at me at high speed. Clang. I quickly emit Gang Chi to deflect it. It's a small dagger. Looking closely, a hole opened in one wall, revealing a hidden mechanical trap that had sprung. A mechanical trap? Then, click-clack, click-clack. Something clicks inside one of the wooden buildings, and something walks out. Click-clack, click-clack. They are puppets made of wood. The puppets move awkwardly at first, then suddenly rush at me. Humph. Boom. Boom. Without hesitation, I emit Gang Sphere from my palm and completely ground the puppets to dust. Co. Hyung. These things are. I heard that these are mechanical traps left by the Mad Lord when he entered the nether-crossing ship. I don't know how he does it, but the Mad Lord is said to be capable of filling an area with his mechanical traps in just a moment of sitting. That's when it happened. Click-clack, click-clack. More wooden puppets begin to approach us from a distance. Co. Rand twitches his brows and move his body. All right, let's break through together. Let's do it. Co. Rand and I charged towards the puppets rushing at us. We broke through the puppets, dodging numerous mechanical traps as we searched inside. The inside of the ship was immensely spacious, rivaling the size of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect that I had seen in the Great Mountain Ranges. Even more so, there were at least 2 more such ships in Black Ghost Valley. One could easily imagine their former glory. The parts of the ship seen from the outside that were half destroyed were either warped in space or completely inaccessible. We destroyed mechanical traps and headed down to the lower part of the ship. SSSHHH. The lower deck of the ship is filled with ghostly energy. There were no ghosts or vengeful spirits, but the formidable ghostly energy was enough to make one's consciousness tremble. Co. Hyung, I'm feeling a bit numb in my consciousness. I felt the ghost energy affecting my consciousness. Co. Rand opened his mouth in response. A small golden bell pops out of his mouth and jingles once. Ting. With its clear sound, the surrounding darkness seems to recede slightly, and the pain affecting my consciousness eases a bit. I used a Dharma treasure with the power of exorcism to drive away some of the ghostly energy. I put a lot of effort into empowering this treasure over the past 3 years. However, to completely eliminate the pain, it would be better to compress the consciousness and give it form. CO Ran advises me while looking in my direction. I utilized the technique of summoning wind, dragon transformation to change my consciousness into the shape of a sea dragon. Since CO Ran's consciousness already perfectly covered him in the same form, it seemed to put less strain on him from the start. Indeed, giving form to the consciousness allows better resistance to attacks on the mind. I solidify my consciousness and ask CO Ran a question. CO Hyung, what exactly is a Dharma treasure? Is it different from magic artifacts? You ask about everything. Magic artifacts are toys used by cultivators from chi refining to chi building stage. Dharma treasures are real weapons used by core formation cultivators. They feed on the power within the core formation cultivator's golden core and grow along with the cultivator. He continued explaining about Dharma treasures. If one is not at the core formation stage and below, they would need to accumulate power over several years to use it. But the effect is certainly significant. So CO Hyung, when you reach a stage equivalent to core formation, will you be able to use a Dharma treasure properly? At my question, CO Ran hesitated for a moment before responding. Unfortunately, demon beasts don't usually use Dharma treasures. Our fangs, claws, scales, etc. are essentially our Dharma treasures. This treasure is used only in special situations like this and won't be my main weapon. I see. We continued to drive away the Gazelle, Y energy in the Nether crossing ship, breaking through puppets and mechanical traps as we went deeper. By the way, can the Nether crossing ship really cross the Netherworld? It's a symbolic name. This ship is just an imitation of a true immortal treasure. While those treasures could possibly travel to the Netherworld, this ship can traverse space but, as far as I know, cannot go to the world of the dead. Being able to traverse space alone is impressive. As I shattered an approaching puppet and we continued downward, I noticed something. There are no puppets attacking on this floor. It is quiet and dark. While the previous floors were somewhat visible, this floor is completely shrouded in darkness. It's too quiet and teeming with ghostly energy. Without exchanging words, CO Ran and I simultaneously fall silent and keep watch. The demon senses are keen. The circulation of Taiji around us has changed. Yin and Yang are not circulating properly, with Yang energy being suppressed by Yin energy. There is something dangerous on this floor. That's when it happened. What ghost dares to intrude upon the Nether crossing ship? A demon beast and a human. I understand the demon, but what's with this human, coated in several layers of death on his soul? Chill. Cough. Ugh. It's hard to breathe. A chill runs through my body. It's natural for ghosts to coat their deaths. But why does this one have several layers of death? How curious and strange. I recognize this presence. From the Mokli clan, Jin clan, Changmun clan, and others. An unchallengeable disaster. The aura of core formation. A great ghost indeed. A living human cloaked in the skin of a ghost. What audacious business brings you here? Let's escape. Flash. A burst of light emits from CO Ran's bell. Simultaneously, the pressure bearing down on us vanish. That Dharma treasure, could it be? Quickly, to the upper deck. CO Ran cries out as if in agony, and we frantically climb back up. Ahaha, I see. A bastard of the Sea Dragon King's lineage. The prince of the King family, yet still here when others have ascended. CO Huil must have abandoned you. A great ghost and a stain of the royal family. Even a dead old man has exciting days. Rumble. A wave of dark, ghostly energy begin to chase us from below. Do you really think you can escape from the grasp of a heavenly being cultivator? The voice of that entity echoes throughout the ship. The mention of heavenly being makes my head spin, nearly causing me to lose my balance and fall. Stay focused. If it was a heavenly being, we wouldn't be feeling so easily. It must be the resentful spirit of a heavenly being cultivator killed by the Mad Lord. At best, it can only exert core formation level strength, and that too only within this ship. Just focus on escaping. I regain my senses at CO Ran's words, utilize the summoning wind, dragon transformation to cloak myself in wind, and flee even faster upwards. How dare you run, you maggots! Rumble. Behind us, a wave of Yin energy surge.